Ready to tackle that building project? Start right. Start here at H&L Rapid True Value for building supplies. The time by H&L Rapid True Value is
Nationwide time, 5 o'clock.
News at 5 teasers are brought to you by Advanced Scales and Equipment. Service is our total commitment.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Robianne Williams.
And I'm Mahiri Stewart.
In Nationwide News at this hour, $8.8 billion US. That's how much the World Bank estimates the total cost of the physical damage to Jamaica caused by Hurricane Melissa.
The total cost of damage is estimated at $8.8 billion US, which is 41% of the gross domestic product of Jamaica.
The government will assist thousands of Jamaicans in rebuilding homes lost during Melissa.
The Prime Minister says the government will also soon start decommissioning shelters to make way for schools next year.
Government establishes Technology Recovery Task Force.
3 men shot dead by the police in a vehicle linked to multiple robberies.
In news from the rest of the world, Haiti's troubles fade briefly as Haitians revel in historic World Cup qualification.
In news from the rest of the world, U.S. military officials arrive in Ukraine for talks on ending war.
In headline sports, JFF President Mike Ricketts says Steve McLaren could be the reason Mason Greenwood has refused to play for Jamaica.
And later on our broadcast, in our cover story at 5:35, Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness says container houses will be used to assist with the housing crisis caused by Hurricane Melissa.
Plan is for, in the initial phase, for the NHD to purchase 5,000 container homes. Some of them will be for sale, and a portion of them will be made available through social housing.
You'll hear more from a special media briefing held at the office of the Prime Minister on Wednesday.
In Public Opinion at 6:26, we ask, should Steve McLaren have stayed for the Reggae Boys' upcoming qualification playoffs? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page Nationwide News Network and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio and message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide90FM.
In the nation's business at 6:40, the World Bank says the physical damage from Hurricane Melissa is $8.8 billion US, with St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland and St. James accounting for $5.5 billion. We'll hear more.
And at 8, it's Boyatings After Dark with Kareem Boyatings Weathers.
All these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile, Nationwide 90 FM, RevoNews.ai, and on the Revo News app. It's available on Google Play and the App Store. This Wednesday afternoon, it's Wednesday, November 19, 2025.
News at 5 teasers were brought to you by Advanced Scales and Equipment. Service is our total commitment.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now to the details. $8.8 billion US. That's how much the World Bank estimates it's the total cost of the physical damage to Jamaica caused by Hurricane Melissa. It's the equivalent of over 1.3 trillion Jamaican dollars. Country Director of the Caribbean countries at the World Bank, Lily Brunchuk, provided the update at a media briefing held at Jamaica House today.
The total cost of damage is estimated at $8.8 billion US, which is 41% of the gross domestic product of Jamaica in 2024. As I said, this number assumes only physical damage. The economic damage will, of course, be also large. This will be estimated later when the Dala assessment is completed. Parishes of St. Elizabeth, St. James, Westmoreland experienced the worst damage, and these 3 parishes account for a total of $5.5 billion US, or 63% of the country's total damage.
Hurricane Melissa made landfall on the island on October 28. St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, St. James, and Hanover are some of the parishes worst affected by the hurricane. Ms. Baronchuk says the damage assessment by the World Bank was separated in 4 categories. They are residential, non-residential, infrastructure, and agriculture. She notes that residential buildings accounted for the highest loss.
Residential building damages account for $3.7 billion, and this is 41% of the total estimated damages. Non-residential buildings, it accounts for 20% of the total damage, equal to $1.8 billion. Infrastructure damage, it was estimated at $2.9 billion, which accounts for 33% of the total damage. Agricultural damages, which is estimated at $389 million, with notable damages to the fishing sector, livestock, dairy, cash crops, vegetables, and fruit trees.
Lilia Baronchuk, country director for the Caribbean countries at the World Bank.
Meanwhile, Ms. Baronchuk says the damage caused by Melissa to Jamaica is unprecedented and will require an enormous response.
The total estimated damages exceed any recent historical event. This means that the recovery will be an enormous and long-term task. It will require a well-coordinated strategic approach to ensure speed, efficiency, and transparency, and a whole-of-society effort from local institutions, the private sector, and from communities.
Lilia Baronchuk, country director for the Caribbean countries at the World Bank.
The government will assist thousands of Jamaicans in rebuilding their homes. Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness made the announcement during a media briefing on Wednesday.
Yes, the government will give rebuilding grants. I cannot say how much those will be or the categories right now. I mean, we have decided on the category. The burial framework will apply. Minor, moderate, and severe, but that needs an assessment. And so that's what is kind of holding us up why we can't pay yet. Now, we're not going to wait until we have assessed every single house, but we do need to reach a critical threshold where we begin to see how the damage is stacking up from a statistical point of view. So we know how much to allocate for minor repairs, how much to allocate for moderate repairs, and how much to allocate for severe.
The World Bank has assessed billions of US dollars in residential property damage caused by Hurricane Melissa. The Prime Minister says assistance will be provided on a case-by-case basis, starting with the worst impacted individuals. Dr. Holness says the Jamaica Defence Force, JDF, will also use its supply chain to assist in the rebuilding effort in the coming days. He says thousands of pre-built container solutions will be utilized rapidly in the provision of shelter for displaced Jamaicans.
We have examined pre-built containerized modular solution, and we have settled in our minds that this is appropriate for the Jamaican situation that we now have. There are different types, different versions, and so I've met with the NHD, and the NHD has provided us with a solution that they are presently working on. At a later stage, we'll go into more details, but the plan is for, in the initial phase, for the NHD to purchase 5,000 container homes, and some of them will be for sale. So with a program with the NHD, you will be able to purchase. Some of them will be used to build housing schemes, which you can purchase, and a portion of them will be made available through social housing.
Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Holness says the government will soon start the process of decommissioning shelters to make way for schools next year. Dr. Holness made the announcement at a media briefing on Wednesday.
We are now at a point in the disaster where we will have to decommission shelters, demobilize the shelters. That creates some challenges, but why do we have to do this? Many, if not all of the shelters now are schools, and we have to get our schools back up for January. So we can't have the schools being used as shelters.
Approximately 97 shelters remain open across the island, serving some 1,200 Jamaicans displaced by Melissa. The majority of shelters are schools. Dr. Holness says the individuals still within these facilities will be assessed and assisted by the government.
So what we have done, we have deployed the social workers and assessors from the Ministry of Labour and Social Security and from the Ministry of Local Government to go into these shelters. You would have heard that we have maybe just under 1,200 or 1,300 persons still in shelters, to go into these shelters and on a case-by-case basis assess their needs and make recommendations, or where possible implement solutions for decanting of persons from these shelters. And that is underway. Our hopeful target is that we could decommission 90% of the occupants of the shelters from the shelters into alternatives.
Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness.
The Holness administration has established a technology recovery task force to drive the restoration and modernization of critical digital services following the passage of Hurricane Melissa. Minister with responsibility for science, technology and special projects, Dr. Andrew Wheatley, made the announcement in a statement today. The task force will be chaired by Minister Wheatley. Dana Davey reports.
Dr. Andrew Wheatley says the task force brings together government, industry and technical experts to move quickly and transparently to secure and future-proof the country's public systems and services. It will prioritize recovery by driving a unified recovery and resilience agenda across emergency services, health facilities, schools, government offices, and community access points. The minister says these efforts will be initially prioritized in Manchester, St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, St. James, Trelawney, and St. Anne, with national coordination from Kingston. Dr. Wheatley says over the next 12 months, the task force will execute a phased program and set clear priorities. He adds that the main goals are to stabilize services quickly, harden cyber and network infrastructure, and build back smarter. The Technology Recovery Task Force will also coordinate offers and donations of equipment, connectivity, software platforms, cybersecurity tooling, engineering resources, and training to eliminate duplication to accelerate impact. All contributions will be aligned to national standards and security requirements based on an approved delivery roadmap. Dr. Wheatley says frequent status reporting will be provided, including a public progress dashboard. He says this forms part of the government's efforts to ensure transparency. Dana Davey for Nationwide News.
The police have confirmed that 3 men were fatally shot during a confrontation with members of the security forces on Wednesday. The incident occurred on the Nelson Mandela Highway in St. Catharines sometime after 11 a.m. Reports are that the Counterterrorism and Organized Crime Investigation Branch CTOC were acting on intelligence about a black Honda Fit motor car. The vehicle is reportedly linked to multiple robbery cases. The police say the motor car was spotted at approximately 11:45 a.m., during which the driver was signaled to stop. It's reported that the occupants allegedly disobeyed the instruction. The vehicle was subsequently intercepted on the highway, during which the men reportedly opened fire at the police. Following an exchange of gunfire, 3 men were found with gunshot wounds. A Taurus pistol and a Beretta pistol, both loaded with rounds, were seized. The men were transported to the Spanish Town Hospital, where they were pronounced dead shortly after midday. The Independent Commission of Investigations Indicom has been notified. 269 people have been killed by the security forces since the start of the year. The figure is 103 more than the 166 individuals killed up to November 17 last year. It represents a 62% increase in police fatal shootings when compared to the similar period last year. So far, 15 have been reported in November alone.
You're listening to Nationwide News at 5. More news after these.
See twice the style for less at IQ Optical. Buy one pair of glasses and get your second and third pair half price. Don't miss out. Call 876-929-7732 or visit IQ Optical today, where clarity never looked sharper.
The time by IQ Optical is
5:14.
Termites, rodents, or birds infesting your home or office? Call Rentokil Initial, the pest expert, at 876-926-4236 for a free pest assessment island-wide. The temperature brought to you by Rentokil Initial is...
It's 32 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 28 in Montego Bay.
Need to make a change to your title or need a title? GeoLand Title Limited is the place to be. They do lost title application, add and remove names from titles, wills, estates, first-time registration, land surveys included, affordable rates and flexible payment options, National Land Agency adjudication and land titling waivers available. They have 8 locations island-wide. Call 876-754-6436 or visit their website at geolandonline.com. GeoLand Title Limited. Secure your land, secure your title.
We in this together, hands on hearts spread wide. We know things will get better, working side by side. We in this together, rebuilding homes and lives, no matter the weather. You are not alone.
Sagicor is contributing over $200 million to Jamaica's Hurricane Melissa recovery. We're also standing by our clients. If you're a client in need of support, call 888-SAGICOR.
Continuing the news, CEO of the Jamaica Dairy Development Board, Devon Sayers, says the sector's recovery efforts following the passage of Hurricane Melissa will cost over $300 million. This includes infrastructural repairs and animal replacement.
We have a recovery plan that includes both animal replacement, pasture redevelopment, because a lot of the pastures in those areas have been destroyed by the storm. We have, so that is the kind of plan we have, pasture redevelopment because they're damaged, infrastructure help in terms of trying to get back some of these dairies, either rebuilt or repaired. We have that in the long pipe. It's looking to at a national cost. It's looking at around $326 million needed to recover where we were now.
Mr. Sayers says more than a tenth of the sector's production has been impacted due to the damage done to farms in Western Jamaica.
It has affected around 10 to 16% of our production in terms of our sector, because St. Elizabeth is our second largest producer of milk, and then Hanover has a small percentage. So in that total area of St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, and Hanover, we have about 8 dairies. The small cluster group in Loana, St. Elizabeth, near Black River, and 2 dairies that are in Ramble, Hanover, which is Nakalva Polytechnic and Edwards Dairy.
Devon Sayers, CEO of the Jamaica Dairy Development Board. He was speaking with Nationwide News today.
The National Works Agency, NWA, is reporting that the majority of roads that were affected by Hurricane Melissa are now reopened. In an update on Wednesday, the NWA says 404 roads were impacted by the Category 5 storm. It says of that number, 177 have now reopened to 2-lane traffic. 212 are operating as single lane with alternating flow of traffic in either direction. The NWA says only 15 roads remain blocked. Manager of Communication and Customer Services at NWA, Stephen Shaw, says 7 of the roads remain blocked due to flooding.
We have been able to reopen nearly 100% of those that we can reopen, meaning there are no impediments causing the corridors from being used by motor vehicles. We do have some where impediments are present in the form of flooding. We have about 7 of those, and we have some that have broken embankments, meaning we'll have to put in retaining structures in order for persons to be able to use these corridors. The teams continue to work, and we will continue the efforts well into the next couple of weeks.
Stephen Shaw, NWA's Manager of Communication and Customer Services. Of the total number of roads blocked, 5 are in St. Elizabeth, 3 in St. James, and 2 each in Westmoreland and Manchester. St. Thomas, St. Andrew, and Portland each had 1 road blocked. According to the agency, All roads have been cleared in Clarendon, Hanover, Kingston, St. Anne, St. Catherine, St. Mary, and Trelawney.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
The World in a Minute.
Haitians filled the streets across the country Tuesday night after their national football team secured the nation's place in the 2026 Soccer World Cup. Haiti scored a decisive 2-0 victory against Nicaragua to win their first World Cup qualification since 1974. Forgotten ever so briefly was the violence, hunger, and homelessness that have plagued the country in recent years. A 25-year-old mechanic told the Associated Press that it means more than just a win. It is hope, it is unity at a time when the country faces so many challenges. Thousands of other fans danced through the streets late into the night. When gunfire erupted briefly during the celebration, the crowd raised its hands and cheered. Such noise normally scatters people in a country where more than 4,300 have been killed from January to September.
Senior Pentagon officials have arrived in Ukraine to discuss efforts to end the war with Russia. The U.S. military says the team, led by Army Secretary Dan Driscoll, is expected to meet Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in Kyiv on Thursday when he returns from a trip to Turkey. Secretary Driscoll held talks with the Ukrainian defense minister shortly after his arrival today. Ukrainian authorities have not publicly commented on what issues are to be discussed with the U.S. delegation. But one Ukrainian official told CBS, the BBC's U.S. media partner, that the focus would be on the military situation on the ground. This is in addition to plans for a possible ceasefire. Reports began surfacing on Tuesday that the US and Russia had prepared a new peace plan containing major concessions from Ukraine. Neither Washington nor Moscow has officially confirmed the plan.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour, the World Bank estimates that the total cost of the physical damage to Jamaica caused by Hurricane Melissa is $8.8 billion.
The government will assist thousands of Jamaicans in rebuilding homes lost during Melissa.
Shelters to soon be decommissioned to make way for schools next year.
3 men shot dead by the police in vehicle linked to multiple robberies.
I'm Roby Ann Williams.
And I'm Mahiri Stewart.
You can find the news on our website at revonews.ai and on the Revo News app. It's available on Google Play and the App Store. News next, the headlines at 6.
Outperform, outlast, with top performance, Chakama, reliable, full stop, not comma. We have the expertise for drilling and demolition. We have the power tools for plumbers and electrician. Pan select tools, free parts and free repairs. 3 parts, free repairs. 2 to 3 years. Hilton, available at Delta Supply, 106 Hagley Park Road. Call us at 876-302-6111-4. Delta Supply, we service what we sell.
Jamaica. Hurricane Melissa may have tested our strength, but it didn't take our spirit of solidarity, compassion, and resilience. With the support of local partners and the international community, the Ministry of Labour and Social Security is standing with every family, rebuilding lives.
Our officers are on the ground assessing needs, offering relief. We are visiting every affected household in every community, because caring for our people is what we do best together.
For further information, call our Client Care Centre at 876-922-8013. Send us a WhatsApp message at 876-582-8972 or 876-849-8614 or email us at clientcare@mlss.gov.jm. The Ministry of Labour and Social Security, the People's Ministry, leaving no one behind.
We in this together, hands on hearts spread wide. We know things will get better, working side by side. We in this together, rebuilding homes and lives, no matter the weather. You are not alone.
Sagicor is contributing over $200 million to Jamaica's Hurricane Melissa recovery. We're also standing by our clients. If you're a client in need of support, call 888-SAGICOR.
Sports at 5 is brought to you by Total Tools. Total Tools, every tool, every trade.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. Jamaicans will find out on Thursday morning which country the national senior men's football team will engage next March when they continue their bid for a spot at the FIFA World Cup finals. All eyes will be on the FIFA headquarters in Zurich, Switzerland at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, Jamaica time, when the draw for the Inter-Confederation and European draws are held. Jamaica, who finished one of the two best second-place teams in the CONCACAF qualifying cycle, will face either the South Pacific island, New Caledonia, or South American outfit Bolivia in one of the semi-final pathways. Jamaica, given their current world ranking, did not get one of the two seeded positions, which would have seen them drawn by to the respective finals. Those positions have gone to Iraq, who are ranked number 60 in the world, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, who are ranked number 56 in the world. Jamaica will also avoid Suriname. Both are from the same confederation. They'll avoid them in the semi-final pathway, and the winners of the two semi-finals will play the DR Congo and Iraq in the finals. The two winners of those finals will go on to the World Cup. The draw for the European playoffs will also take place in time for 4 additional spots. In total, 42 teams have already secured their spots to the World Cup finals, including the 3 co-hosts, Mexico, Canada, and the USA. So 6 spots are to be filled, 2 involving the 2 teams from the CONCACAF region and the other 4 coming out of Europe. And the JFF president, Michael Ricketts, has suggested that former national coach Steve McLaren could be the reason why England football star Mason Greenwood has so far refused to play for the Jamaica national senior men's team. Greenwood, who plies his trade in the French league with Olympique Marseille, was granted a Jamaican passport earlier this year, but he has so far rejected calls for him to play for the national team. Now, in the aftermath of the team's failure to gain one of the automatic spots to the FIFA World Cup, Ricketts weighed in on the conversation as to why the former Manchester United star has refused to play for the Reggae Boys. Ricketts says Greenwood was excited to play for the team, hence the JFF worked hard to get his paperwork sorted even before Steve McLaren got here.
Surprisingly, somebody said to me today that maybe it's because of maybe a bad relationship at Manchester United while he's hesitant to come. I mean, somebody just said that to me today. And I say there could be some credence to the thought. So, I mean, let's see what happened at the onset. I mean, he seemed to have been excited about getting his documentation sorted out. I mean, when we sent it to him and I asked him, he said that it's a family decision for him not to make himself available right now. So, I really don't.
That's JFF President Michael Ricketts. Greenwood is said to be still hoping to play for England after his future with the Three Lions was thrown into doubt following his arrest for attempted rape and assault in 2022. The charges were later dropped. Harbourview football team manager Clyde Giardini is suggesting that the entire technical staff of the Jamaica men's national senior football team should follow Steve McLaren and tender their resignation as well. McLaren stepped down from the job less than 2 hours after the team failed to qualify automatically for the FIFA World Cup next year. And Giardini thinks the others need to follow suit.
And if the head coach is going, then the entire technical team should go with him as well, because he was leading what they all were agreeing to do in terms of players, in terms of selection, in terms of tactics, and in terms of results. So for me, going to the playoff is a more difficult, even though it's 2 games at most there, than facing the opposition we have here in the Caribbean zone. So it's got to be one of 2 ways, and we don't decide.
Giardini says he's long questioned the tactic of the technical staff, and because of that, he's not surprised that the team fell short in the end.
No surprise. The position that I have been stating throughout, I have very little confidence in the coaching staff that they will get a positive result, because they have not been getting positive results. They have been making bad selections for the starting teams. They have been employing wrong tactics in most, if not all of the games, apart from whatever we did against Bermuda. We beat them anyway. Everybody does. So not much credit there, even though I think our best game was the 4-0 game against here in Jamaica.
That's Harborview football team manager Clyde Giardini. And finally in sports at this time, persistent rainfall brought frustration across Trinidad and Tobago today as the CG United Super 50 fixtures, which actually got underway today at the Sir Frank Royal Ground in St. Augustine and the Queen's Park Oval in Port of Spain, were abandoned. Now at the Sir Frank Royal Ground, the matchup between the Barbados Pride and the Trinidad and Tobago Red Force endured a long delay before a ball was bowled. After rain pushed back the start until 2:17 in the afternoon, officials reduced the contest to a 20 over a side affair. Barbados openers took advantage of the brief window for play, pushing the Pride to 48 without loss, but another spell of heavy rain forced the umpires to call out the game finally. Now with conditions worsening and the outfield waterlogged, and no result was declared. Meanwhile, at the Queen's Park Oval in capital city Port of Spain, the Guyana Harpy Eagles and the Jamaica Scorpions managed far more playing time, but not the finish they had both hoped for. Now batting first, the Harpy Eagles, they produced a strong first innings effort. They made 287 for 6 in 47 overs, and that was anchored by a disciplined batting from the West Indies player Kevlin Anderson, who made 83. Raymond Perez got 61 and Matthew Nandu made 54. However, the rains came and forced the players off the field for good. The match was ultimately abandoned without the Scorpions facing a delivery. And on the tournament regulations, all teams involved will receive 2 points for the abandoned matches, along with any bonus points earned prior to the stoppages. And that will do it for sport. We're going to be back with more at 6:05.
Sports at 5 was brought to you by Total Tools. Total Tools, every tool, every trade. From Kingston to the world, from Montego Bay to new adventures, and from Ocherias to endless possibilities. Wherever you're headed, we will proudly take you there. Jamaica's Airport, your global gateway. The temperature brought to you by the Airports Authority of Jamaica is
30 degrees Celsius here in the nation's capital, Kingston, and 28 in the western city, Montego Bay.
More savings, more choices. Get active with Active Home Center. The one-stop shop for everything for your home. We have more savings, more choices, unbelievable prices. Wide selection with the latest style. The kitchen, bathroom, right down to the tile. Buy the hottest items on spot, don't miss out. Best options under one roof, no doubt. More savings, more choices.
Visit us in store or online at www.activehomecenter.com.
We have more savings, more choices.
This is a public service announcement from JPS. JPS is urging customers not to pay anyone to have their electricity service reconnected. Customers are reminded that unauthorized reconnections can be extremely dangerous and can result in serious injury, electrocution, or damage to property. This practice is unethical, illegal, and could delay restoration efforts. If anyone claiming to represent JPS requests payment for reconnection services, report it immediately to the nearest police station or JPS. JPS thanks all customers for their patience as teams continue working to restore power safely and as quickly as possible. That was a public service announcement from JPS.
We in this together, hands on hearts spread wide. We know things will get better, working side
is contributing over $200 million to Jamaica's Hurricane Melissa recovery. We're also standing by our clients. If you're a client in need of support, call 888-SAGICO.
This Friday, November 21 from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., the Nationwide team makes its first stop in Westmoreland on our Rebuilding Jamaica Post-Melissa Relief OB series. And we're broadcasting live from 2 locations, Maud McLeod High School in Darlaston and Marzuka Garage in Savannah Lamar. So we're calling all residents of Darlaston and surrounding communities, Cottage, Venture Hall, Betheltown, Caledonia, Leamington, and everyone in Savannah Lamar. Come out and join us. We'll be bringing care packages and more, while our partners, the National Health Fund, will offer free screenings. Come share your stories, talk with our hosts, and let Jamaica hear how you and your families are rebuilding after Hurricane Melissa. Nationwide 90 FM, helping to rebuild Jamaica one community at a time. This outreach is made possible by NHF, Kimlani Mart, Marzuka Garage, NSWMA, the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, LMH Publishing, and Phoenix Vision Center.
Good afternoon, listeners, viewers. Welcome. It is 5:36. It's the 19th of November, ticking closer to December. Welcome to the cover story. I'm Siobhan Campbell.
Top of the afternoon to you, Sir Siobhan. Top of the afternoon to our listeners on the 90 FM band, and of course our viewers on YouTube. I'm Tyrone Reid.
Welcome. Good to hear from you, Tyrone. How are things for you?
Not too shabby for a middle-aged guy. I trust you're hanging in there.
We're doing as well as can be under the circumstances. You still consider yourself middle-aged, Tyrone?
What's middle-aged for you? Let me see if I'm on point.
Early 30s?
That can't be middle-aged. What's life expectancy? Life expectancy for men, Siobhan, is what?
I think in Jamaica it's something like 77.
Exactly, so it can't be 35.
Then mid-30s would still be about right, don't you think?
Let's see. Well, let's hope we both live beyond that.
Right. Well, listeners, the Prime Minister, there was a media briefing at OPM this afternoon, and Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness says the country's recovery efforts will initially be financed from the National Natural Disaster Recovery Fund. However, he says the country will likely have to borrow funds to fill the gaps, while the World Bank is estimating that the damage caused by Hurricane Melissa is approximately $8.8 billion.
While this estimate will no doubt be refined by more detailed assessments, it is unquestionable that Hurricane Melissa is the deadliest natural disaster to hit Jamaica in over 70 years. In absolute terms, the cost of the damage is the highest of any hurricane in Jamaica's recorded history. This means the rebuilding effort will be the largest in Jamaica's modern history. Existing government structures, procedures, rules, and regulations are not designed for capital reconstruction at the emergency speed and scale required. Our traditional, decentralized ministry by ministry and agency by agency approaches and procurement and public investment rules, while appropriate in normal times, I don't believe so, were not designed to meet the scale and speed that will be required to implement an effective post-Melissa recovery in any practical time frame. Furthermore, having each agency or ministry of government mount its own reconstruction would, over the longer term, cannibalize operational capacity and further affect the delivery of public services. In addition, a fragmented ministry-by-ministry approach will not easily scale to meet the magnitude of the reconstruction challenge. We therefore need a dedicated reconstruction apparatus. The government will therefore establish the National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority, NARA, a statutory body with special powers to lead, coordinate, fast-track, and oversee national reconstruction reporting directly to the Office of the Prime Minister. The NARA will focus on building back better, safer homes, climate-resilient infrastructure, better land use planning, relocation from high-risk zones, and taking the opportunity to introduce new industries and new businesses to areas that previously had no economic base. There is national and international precedents for this approach. It has been used in large-scale disasters, for example, in New Orleans in 2005 after Hurricane Katrina, in Canterbury, New Zealand after the Christchurch earthquake, in 2011, and also in Japan in 2011 after the earthquake and tsunami. In Jamaica, too, Prime Minister Pattison established the Office of National Reconstruction after Hurricane Ivan. The ONR, as it was called, was set up as a special unit to coordinate relief and reconstruction. It was not established by an act of Parliament. The NARA will be much larger in scope, obviously, and scale, and established under special purpose legislation. Given the extraordinary powers that will be sought to expedite reconstruction, the NARA will be set up with a sunset date of 5 years, renewable by Parliament. So we're not seeking to have this established forever. It is a time-bound exercise, and it has to be time-bound so that we can actually meet the recovery and reconstruction date. If you leave it unbounded, people will believe that they have forever to achieve the targets. The authority's administrative expenditure will be financed from the national budget, as other agencies are. However, recovery and reconstruction activities will be financed initially from the National Natural Disaster Recovery Fund, the NNDRF. The NNDRF was set up to receive the proceeds of Jamaica's disaster risk instruments, including Jamaica's catastrophe bond, policies with the Caribbean Catastrophe Reinsurance Facilities, CRIF, and various credit contingent claims with the IDB and the World Bank. These amounts will total approximately $650 million US. It is likely that the government of Jamaica will have to borrow to finance reconstruction beyond what will be available in our NNDRF. We have immediate access to approximately, and please note I use the word approximately, $500 million US from the IMF's Rapid Financing Facility, the RFI. The RFI facility does not come with policy conditionality. So we will start this reconstruction effort with approximately $1.15 billion US in immediate funds. This is significant. To dimension this, under normal circumstances, it would take us 3 fiscal years to spend such funds in capital expenditure under normal circumstances. But let me just say this, because again, there is a lot of misinformation which is suggesting that the government of Jamaica is receiving huge sums. I would want, if it is possible, to display the grade assessment of damage. And just to look at what the infrastructure damage is. Just infrastructure. That's the one that you can say it's absolutely public. And I believe that was about $2.9 billion of infrastructure damage. You could say that's government's responsibility totally. And then there is a part of residential that would be government as well.
The Prime Minister, they're discussing the scale of what has impacted Jamaica and what they have received so far in terms of support, or set aside rather, in terms of support to aid in that relief effort. And the Prime Minister raised a good point about that ability to utilize such a large sum in terms of capital expenditure, and it will be interesting to see if the government is up to the task in these circumstances to get that expenditure out and to actually utilize it considering the circumstances. But time will tell.
Absolutely. Very, very important information here being shared by the country's Prime Minister, Dr. Andrew Holness, at a media briefing put on by the Office of the Prime Minister. We're playing excerpts for you. You heard there, Siobhan, the National Natural Disaster Recovery Fund. That's where the funds will be expended from. I would suppose it makes sense to establish this fund, Siobhan, and not to have the funds go into the regular coffers that the consolidated fund. It does seem to make significant sense to go this route there from the government, Siobhan.
Yes, and we'll bring you more excerpts from the Prime Minister, listeners, but after this break.
Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, is a financial reporting firm that delivers accounting and compliance services on time. Call us today at 876-908-0486-7. Email us at clientservices@cocnjamaica.com or visit our website at www.cocnjamaica.com. COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
Taboo topics,
Bulletins after dark,
riveting discussions,
celebrity news and interviews,
topics that are shunned by society,
and everything else in between.
Boyatings After Dark with Kareem Boyatings, each and every Wednesday, 8 to 11 p.m.
Boyatings After Dark.
No topic is too taboo or hard to discuss. Come get your mind blown and your curiosity explored.
Boyatings After Dark.
Welcome back. Thank you so very much for sticking and staying with us right here inside Nationwide at 5. He's Siobhan Campbell. I'm Tyrone Reed. And we are playing for you excerpts from a media briefing. Very, very important information being shared by the country's Prime Minister, Dr. Andrew Holness, about how the country will be recovering. All the moving parts are seemingly being put in place. He told us of a National Natural Disaster Recovery Fund, and there will also be an entity that will be established to oversee the recovery process as well. And he says that in the legislation to establish that there will be a sunset clause to revisit that, I think, for 5 years time. Now, the Prime Minister also told us that the country has $1.15 billion currently available.
Is the relief and the recovery expenditure. So we have here a total of $1.15 billion. A part of it is the insurance and the contingencies that we have, and a part of it is immediately accessible debt that we could start. But just from the assessment here, which is not the final assessment, you know, there's $8.8 billion of damage for which the government would more likely be responsible for at least half. So there is still a gap that will have to be funded, and that will have to be funded by additional borrowing. So those who are of the view that the government can engage in a spending spree, thank God they are not the government. The government has to be frugal. It has to be careful. It has to watch now more than ever. It has to watch every dollar that is spent. Because yes, we are in a good position, no doubt. We have never been in a position where a disaster struck and we don't have to be scrounging around to find $1.1 billion. We have it there. To start, we can start. That is because of the fiscal management of the government that built resilience in our fiscal affairs. But we are not out of the woods yet. And every dollar has to be carefully thought of. It speaks to a national psyche that the country must develop. If you can stand on your own 2 feet, stand on your own 2 feet. If you can help someone, help someone. Let the government focus on helping those who can't help themselves. Let the government focus on rebuilding the infrastructure that is for the public benefit. That must become the psyche of how we're going to get through this. So the NARA, the National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority, will have special powers to accelerate planning approvals, procurement, public investment and implementation, reducing delays for priority reconstruction projects in designated special reconstruction areas. We will establish a high-level public-private advisory board, and that, well, we won't announce who the chairman will be, but it will have on it some of our elder statesmen, persons from civil society, technical persons. Certainly we will invite some of our multilateral and overseas partners to sit on it, to give us advice and to help. But it will be a multi-stakeholder board that will ensure that we are making the right decisions, there's transparency and accountability. But more importantly, in the info disaster that is going on, we will need voices other than the government to explain some of the decisions that we will have to make. Because regardless of what we do and how we feel that we're making the right decision, Jamaica is a democracy. And ultimately, you want the people to understand what you're doing, appreciate it, and give their support. So we are not going to move ahead and leave the people. We're going to take the time to engage in conversation, to explain, and to challenge misinformation. As I said, any nonsense that is put up, any misinformation that is put up, we will stand there and challenge it. We will never cower in the face of falsehood. And that has been our position, and we will do it with dignity, and we'll do it boldly as well.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness there talking about the importance of self-reliance and the understanding that Jamaica's fiscal responsibility, ingrained now as it is over the last few years, the last decade or so, has put us in the position where we can respond rapidly to a natural disaster, but still stressing the point that even with that rapid response, there is still going to be a lot of work and a lot of costs in the months and probably years to come.
And the one thing that shouldn't escape us is that admission from the Prime Minister as well, that the need will be there to borrow. We will increase the debt stock in order to come out of this one, Sir Siobhan. And you know, if Jamaica's economy and how we've been handling the debt and how we manage the economy, the coming out of the pandemic, pardon me, you know, the international community has been singing the praises of Jamaica's efforts, Siobhan. And had it not been that we had all these macroeconomic variables being so robust, it would be frightening to consider what we'd be staring down the barrel of.
Precisely. Well, the Prime Minister also spoke about housing and the needs, which are great, particularly in Western Jamaica, which was hard hit. Dr. Holness says thousands of pre-built container solutions will be utilized rapidly in the provision of shelter for displaced Jamaicans.
So in the first phase, the goal is to quickly stabilize households and make damaged homes livable with longer-term rebuilding plans, while longer-term rebuilding plans are put in place. And so this will include distribution of shelter kits, heavy-duty tarpaulins, shrink-wrap roofing solutions, and emergency repair materials. And that will be provided to those persons who, by our assessment, we know they definitely cannot rebuild. That assessment is underway. The Minister of Labour and Social Security has reported to me that they have done just over 16,000 assessments across the island so far. So you know they have a little way to go, but we're going to ramp up, as I said earlier, the core of assessors so that we can do this very rapidly. But remember when I spoke of the supply chain that JDF has established? We're going to use this supply chain to bring the materials in and to distribute them to those who are needed, in need. So it's a repurposing of the supply chain, as I had said, to now go and do this level of rebuilding and supporting the relief. We have examined pre-built containerized modular solutions, and we have settled in our minds that this is appropriate for the Jamaican situation that we now have. There are different types, different versions, and so I've met with the NHD, and the NHD has provided us with a solution that they are presently working on. At a later stage, we'll go into more details, but the plan is for, in the initial phase, for the NHD to purchase 5,000 container homes, and those will be, some of them will be for sale. So with a program with the NHD, you will be able to purchase. Some of them will be used to build housing schemes, which you can purchase, and a portion of them will be made available through social housing. The government itself will also be purchasing some of these containerized housing solutions, which will be made available through the social housing modality. So effectively, we have to do a rapid deployment of housing solutions. And the easiest way to do this is to use the containerized solutions. They do take some time to arrive in Jamaica. There's just certainly not the quantity to make an impact. So we have met and discussed it. We have taken the policy decision that these can be used. And so the process of acquiring them through the procurement process, they have been given the approval to move ahead with that. So that should start in short order. You know, we are not going to get them here for Christmas. I just have to be frank with everybody. But we should start to see some coming in by late January. And those that come in initially, we are going to be looking at the worst cases assessed to make them available. For Christmas and for the initial stages, we're going to have to try to do the shelter repair kits, the heavy-duty tarpaulins, and those kinds of solutions, in addition to the rebuilding, the actual putting on roofs and so forth, as much of that as we can in the coming weeks leading up to Christmas. But the containerized solution does take some time. The shipping is between 30 to 90 days, just that alone. Then there is some procurement and other administrative and bureaucratic things that might take up the time. So we're really trying to cut it as quickly as possible, as short as possible. But even with the best efforts, there may be some challenges.
So tough news there being delivered by the Prime Minister. He went on to say that also that housing grants will also be provided.
Yes, the government will give rebuilding grants. I cannot say how much those will be or the categories right now. I mean, we have decided on the category. The burial framework will apply: minor, moderate, and severe. But that needs an assessment. And so that's what is kind of holding us up, why we can't pay yet. Now, we're not going to wait until we have assessed every single house, but we do need to reach a critical threshold where we begin to see how the damage is stacking up from a statistical point of view. So we know how much to allocate for minor repairs, how much to allocate for moderate repairs and how much to allocate for severe. And we actually need the report so that we can establish the threshold. What exactly is minor? What exactly is moderate? And what exactly range is severe? So we're not yet at that threshold. I suspect by the time we reach 30,000 assessments, you would start to see the kind of repetitive nature of the damage, and so you can establish what the thresholds are. So we should get to 30,000 very, very soon, based upon the work that ODPEM is doing in expanding its core and coordinating, and the work already being done by the Ministry of Labour and Social Security.
That's Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness speaking about the housing needs and how the government intends to assist in that regard. Listeners, well, we are out of time. The Prime Minister, just to recap, was speaking at a special media briefing at the office of the Prime Minister today. We will be back here at 6:40. Till then, it's time for the headlines.
The time brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy is...
A minute after 6.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening with the headlines at 6. I'm Mahiri Stewart. $8.8 billion US dollars, that's how much the World Bank estimates is the total cost of physical damage to Jamaica caused by Hurricane Melissa. It's the equivalent of over 1.3 trillion Jamaican dollars. Country Director for the Caribbean countries at the World Bank, Lilia Burunshuk, provided the update at a media briefing held at Jamaica House today.
The total cost of damage is estimated at $8.8 billion US dollars, which is 41% of the gross domestic product of Jamaica in 2024. As I said, this number assumes only physical damage. The economic damage will, of course, be also large. This will be estimated later when the dollar assessment is completed. Parishes of St. Elizabeth, St. James, Westmoreland experienced the worst damage, and these three parishes account for a total of $5.5 billion US dollars, or 63% of the country's total damage.
Hurricane Melissa made landfall on the island on October 28. St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, St. James and Hanover are some of the parishes worst affected by the Category 5 hurricane. Ms. Burunshuk says the damage assessment by the World Bank was separated into 4 categories. They are residential, non-residential, infrastructure, and agriculture. She notes that residential buildings accounted for the highest loss.
Residential building damages account for $3.7 billion US dollars, and this is 41% of the total estimated damages. Non-residential buildings, it accounts for 20% of the total damage, equal to $1.8 billion US dollars. Infrastructure damage, it was estimated at $2.9 billion US dollars, which accounts for 33% of the total damage. Agricultural damages, which is estimated at $300 $189 million with notable damages to the fishing sector, livestock, dairy, cash crops, vegetables, and fruit trees.
Lilia Brunschuk, country director for the Caribbean countries at the World Bank. The government will assist thousands of Jamaicans in rebuilding their homes. Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness made the announcement during a media briefing on Wednesday.
Yes, the government will give rebuilding grants. I cannot say how much those will be or the categories right now. I mean, we have decided on the category. The burial framework will apply. Minor, moderate, and severe, but that needs an assessment. And so that's what is kind of holding us up why we can't pay yet. Now, we're not going to wait until we have assessed every single house, but we do need to reach a critical threshold where we begin to see how the damage is stacking up from a statistical point of view. So we know how much to allocate for minor repairs, how much to allocate for moderate repairs, and how much to allocate for severe.
The World Bank has assessed billions of US dollars in residential property damage caused by Hurricane Melissa. The Prime Minister says assistance will be provided on a case-by-case assessment, starting with the worst impacted individuals. Dr. Holness says the Jamaica Defence Force, JDF, will also use its supply chain to assist in the rebuilding effort in the coming days. He says thousands of pre-built container solutions will be utilized rapidly in the provision of shelter for displaced Jamaicans.
We have examined pre-built containerized modular solution, and we have settled in our minds that this is appropriate for the Jamaican situation that we now have. There are different types, different versions, and so I've met with the NHD and the NHD has provided us with a solution that they are presently working on. At a later stage, we'll go into more details, but the plan is for, in the initial phase, for the NHD to purchase 5,000 container homes, and those will be, some of them will be for sale. So with a program with the NHD, you will be able to purchase. Some of them will be used to build housing schemes, which you can purchase, and a portion of them will be made available through social housing.
Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Holness says the government will soon start decommissioning shelters to make way for schools next year.
We are now at a point in the disaster where we will have to decommission shelters, demobilize the shelters. That creates some challenges, but why do we have to do this? Many, if not all of the shelters now are schools, and we have to get our schools back up for January. So we can't have the shelters, the schools being used as shelters.
Approximately 97 shelters remain open across the island, serving some 1,200 Jamaicans displaced by Melissa. The majority of shelters are schools. Dr. Holness says the individuals still within these facilities will be assessed and assisted by the government.
So what we have done, we have deployed the social workers and assessors from the Ministry of Labour and Social Security and from the Ministry of Local Government to go into these shelters. You would have heard that we have maybe just under 1,200 or 1,300 persons still in shelters. To go into these shelters and on a case-by-case basis, assess their needs and make recommendations or, where possible, implement solutions for decanting of persons from these shelters. And that is underway. Our hopeful target is that we could decommission 90% of the occupants of the shelters from the shelters into alternatives.
Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness. The police have confirmed that 3 men were fatally shot during a confrontation with members of the security forces on Wednesday. The incident occurred on the Nelson Mandela Highway in St. Catharines sometime after 11 a.m. Reports are that the Counterterrorism and Organized Crime Investigation Branch, CTOC, were acting on intelligence about a black Honda Fit motorcar. The vehicle is reportedly linked to multiple robbery cases. The police say the motorcar was spotted at approximately 11:45 a.m., during which the driver was signaled to stop. It's reported that the occupants allegedly disobeyed the instruction. The vehicle was subsequently intercepted on the highway, during which the men reportedly opened fire at the police. Following an exchange of gunfire, 3 men were found with gunshot wounds. A Taurus pistol and a Beretta pistol, both loaded with rounds, were seized. The men were transported to the Spanish Town Hospital where they were pronounced dead shortly after midday. The Independent Commission of Investigations, INDICOM, has been notified. 269 people have been killed by the security forces since the start of the year. The figure is 103 more than the 166 individuals killed up to November 17 last year. It represents a 62% increase in police fatal shootings when compared to the similar period last year. So far, 15 have been reported in November alone. Those are the headlines at 6. I'm Mahiri Stewart. Sports is next.
MSME operators, the NWC MSME Amnesty is a lifeline. Grab it. Apply between September 1 and November 30, 2025. Visit nwcjamaica.com. Email us at customercare@nwc.com.jm. You can also visit any commercial office or dial 888-NWC. Get a 50% debt write-off on your small commercial account if you pay all other outstanding debts or sign a payment agreement to do so in 3 months. Apply today.
Good evening with your sports report. I am Alex Swaby. We kick things off with some football as Jamaicans will find out on Thursday morning which country the national senior men's football team will engage next March when they continue their bid to qualify for the FIFA World Cup finals. All eyes will be on the FIFA headquarters in Zurich, Switzerland at 7 o'clock Jamaica time when the draw for the Interconfederation playoffs will be held. Jamaica, who finished as one of the 2 best second-place teams in the CONCACAF qualifying cycle, will face either South Pacific Island New Caledonia or South American outfit Bolivia in one semi-final. Jamaica, given their current world ranking, did not get one of the 2 seeded positions, which would have seen them drawn a bye into one of the 2 finals. Those positions have gone to Iraq, ranked 60th, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, ranked 56th. Jamaica will also avoid Suriname. Both are kept apart in the semi-final pathway because they are from the same confederation. The winners of the 2 semi-finals will play the DR Congo and Iraq in the finals, with the 2 winners advancing to the World Cup. The draws for the European playoffs will also take place at the same time for 4 additional spots. In total, 42 teams have already booked their ticket to the World Cup, including 3 co-hosts, Mexico, Canada, and the USA. JFF President Michael Ricketts has suggested that former national coach Steve McLaren could be the reason why England football star Mason Greenwood has refused to play for Jamaica. Greenwood, who plays his club football at Olympique Marseille in France, was granted a Jamaican passport earlier this year, but has rejected calls to play for them. In the aftermath of the team's failure to qualify automatically for the FIFA World Cup finals, Ricketts weighed in on the conversation as to why the former Manchester United star has showed no interest to play for the team. Ricketts says Greenwood was excited to play for Jamaica even before McLaren was hired, which was why the federation worked hard to get his paperwork sorted.
Surprisingly, somebody said to me today that maybe it's because of maybe a bad relationship at Manchester United while he's hesitant to come. I mean, somebody just said that to me today. And I say there could be some credence to the thought. So, I mean, let's see what happened at the onset. I mean, he seemed to have been excited about getting his documentation sorted out. I mean, when we sent it to him and I asked him, he said that it's a family decision for him not to make himself available right now. So, I really don't know.
JFF President Michael Ricketts. Greenwood is also said to be still hoping to play for England after his future with the Three Lions was thrown into doubt following his arrest for attempted rape and assault in 2022. The charges were later dropped. Harbourview football team manager Clyde Jardine is suggesting that the entire technical staff of the Jamaica men's national senior team should follow Steve McLaren and tender their resignation. McLaren stepped down from the job less than 2 hours after the team failed to qualify automatically for the FIFA World Cup on Tuesday night, and Jardine thinks the other need to follow his suit.
And if the head coach is going, then the entire technical team should go with him as well, because he was leading what they all were agreeing to do in terms of players, in terms of selection, in terms of tactics, and in terms of results. So for me, going to the playoff is a more difficult, even though it's 2 games at most there, than facing the opposition we have here in the Caribbean zone. So it's got to be one of 2 ways, and we don't decide.
Jardine says he's long questioned the tactics of the Jamaican coaching staff and wasn't at all surprised that they fell short in the end.
No surprise, the position that I have been stating throughout. I have very little confidence in the coaching staff that they will get a positive result, because they have not been getting positive results. They have been making bad selections for the starting teams. They have been employing wrong tactics in most, if not all of the games, apart from whatever we did against Bermuda. We beat them anyway, everybody does. So not much credit there, even though I think our best game was a 4-0 game against here in Jamaica.
Clyde Jardine. Now to cricket, as persistent rainfall brought frustration across Trinidad and Tobago on Tuesday as the CG United Super 50 Cup fixtures at the Sir Frank Worrell Ground in St. Augustine and the Queen's Park Oval in Port of Spain were abandoned. At the Sir Frank Worrell Ground, the matchup between Barbados Pride and Trinidad and Tobago Red Force endured a long delay before a ball was bowled. After rain pushed back the start until 2:17 p.m., officials reduced the contest to 20 overs per side. Barbados openers took advantage of the brief window of play, pushing the Pride to 48 without loss, but another spell of heavy showers forced the umpires to call off the match. With conditions worsening and the outfield waterlogged, and a no result was declared. Meanwhile, at the Queen's Park Oval, the Guyana RP Eagles and the Jamaica Scorpions managed far more play, but not the finish they hoped for. Batting first, the Harpy Eagles produced a strong first innings effort, posting 287 for 6 in 47 overs, anchored by disciplined batting from Kevin Anderson, who made 83, Raymond Perez 61, and Matthew Nandu 54. However, the rains came forcing the players from the field. The match was ultimately abandoned without the Scorpions facing a delivery. On the tournament regulations, all teams involved will receive 2 points from the abandoned matches, along with any bonus points earned prior to the stoppages. The captain of the West Indies, Shea Hope, expressed his disappointment on Tuesday after his brilliant century proved insufficient to prevent a second ODI defeat to New Zealand at McLean Park, Napier. Hope produced a masterclass, hammering 109 from 69 deliveries, an innings decorated with 13 fours and 4 sixes. His effort powered the visitors to 247 for 9, but the total ultimately fell short of what was needed. In reply, the hosts paced their chase with calm assurance, reaching 248 for 5 to seal victory and take control of the 3-match series. Despite a few breakthroughs from the West Indies bowlers, New Zealand held firm to secure the win. Speaking after the match, Hope made no attempt to hide his frustration.
We come to New Zealand, most of the guys first time in these foreign conditions, and the way how we've been pushing the game all the way down to the back end. There have been, 4 close games now? I think every one of them pretty much finished in the last over. So you come here, you put yourself in positions to win games, and it's only a matter of time before you cross the line. It's just unfortunate we're not doing so currently. But like I said, man, we got to find a way to cross that line, because we want to be a great team. You got to keep winning against the best, and that's what we need to do going forward.
Hope's knock was his 19th one-day international century. Yet, as the series finale looms, the skipper stressed that collective improvement, not individual accolades, must be the focus.
I think everyone knows this by now. I'm one who loves to win. So regardless if I score hundreds, 50s, whatever the case may be, I'd rather score 2 and 5 and we win than scoring hundreds and we losing. So that's just how I look at the game. Just trying to find ways to keep getting better and giving my team the best chance of winning.
She hope. The West Indies under-19s produced a confident run chase to defeat England's under-19s by 6 wickets via the Duckworth-Lewis method in a rain-affected second Youth One-Day International at the National Stadium in Grenada on Wednesday. The win gave the Windies a 2-0 lead in the 7-match series. Batting first, England posted 160 for 5. Farham Ahmed top-scored with an unbeaten 46, while Caleb Faulkner added a steady 42 not out. Jakeem Pollard was the most successful West Indies bowler, collecting 2 wickets. In response, the young Caribbean side showed maturity and control at the crease, reaching 192 for 4 to secure victory. Irsinghu Fontaine set the tone with 39, followed by Tariq Bryan, who contributed 31. The innings was anchored by an impressive unbeaten 57 from Jonathan Van Lange, guiding the hosts comfortably past the target. Jack Nicholson claimed 2 wickets for England. And finally, in track and field, as preparations are in full swing for the 25th staging of the Reggae Marathon, an event long celebrated for uniting people through endurance, culture, and shared purpose. This year's race, slated for Kingston on December 7, carries added significance as it supports ongoing relief and recovery efforts in Negril, the birthplace of the marathon, and one of the communities hardest hit by Hurricane Melissa. In recognition of the event's deep ties to Negril, organizers have launched a Hurricane Melissa relief initiative aimed at residents of Negril and nearby Green Island. Both communities have played pivotal roles in the history of the Reggae Marathon, providing hundreds of volunteers and essential on-the-ground support since its inception. Founded in 2001 by the Jam Dammers Running Club of Kingston, the Reggae Marathon was created to preserve Jamaica's long-distance running culture and boost sports tourism. Over the years, it has grown into an international acclaimed event, drawing runners from 25 to 35 countries annually and reinforcing Jamaica's profile as a destination for health and wellness experiences. International participation has been a steady pillar of the event's success. Throughout its history, runners have come from Germany, Ireland, the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, Poland, Russia, Scotland, Serbia, Switzerland, Ukraine, the Bahamas, Belize, Costa Rica, Mexico, Sweden, and large contingents from the United States and Canada. This consistency has ensured reliable income for tourism-dependent sectors year after year. Beyond tourism, the Reggae Marathon has a long record of community investment. For more than a decade, the event has donated laptops and technology to students from winning schools, provided gentle-worn running shoes to youth in need, and maintained a 20-year partnership with the Heart Foundation of Jamaica. Alrix. That's all the sports we have for you this evening. I'm Alrix Swaby. Thanks. Good night.
For all your scales and food processing equipment, call Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited at 876-968-9612-5. The time by Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited is
6:23.
My Mega Mart, best value by far.
With so much to do in one location, make Mega Mart your one-stop shop. Pick up your groceries and houseware needs, grab a bite and pay some bills, fill your prescriptions and see the beauty products in our pharmacy, all in one amazing location. My Mega Mart, the best value by far.
SCL Jamaica Limited is having a big blowout sale. Up to 70% off on Milwaukee tools. From power drills to saws, their top-notch Milwaukee tools will handle any project with ease. Hurry to SCL Jamaica Limited at Block L, Sagicor Industrial Center, 7 Norman Road, or call 876-938-1397 for more details. Sale runs November 10 to 28. Terms and conditions apply. Milwaukee, nothing but heavy duty. This Friday, November 21, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., the nationwide team makes its first stop in Westmoreland on our Rebuilding Jamaica Post-Melissa Relief OB series. And we're broadcasting live from 2 locations, Maud McLeod High School in Darlaston and Marzuka Garage in Savannah Lamar. So we're calling all residents of Darlaston and surrounding communities, Cottage, Venture Hall, Betheltown, Caledonia, Leamington, and everyone in Savannah Lamar. Come out and join us. We'll be bringing care packages and more, while our partners, the National Health Fund, will offer free screenings. Come share your stories, talk with our hosts, and let Jamaica hear how you and your families are rebuilding after Hurricane Melissa. Nationwide 90 FM, helping to rebuild Jamaica one community at a time. This outreach is made possible by NHF, Kimlani Mart, Mazuka Garage, NSWMA, the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, LMH Publishing, and Phoenix Vision Center.
Ever wondered how to spot a scam before it drains your account? Or how Jamaica's top financial crime fighters track down the money? Join the Financial Investigations Division on Nationwide this morning, every first and third Friday at 8:20 a.m. for FID in Action, an informative, engaging feature designed to keep you and your money safe. Learn practical tips to help you spot, prevent, and report financial crimes. Understand how the FID protects the financial system. That's FID in Action, protecting you, preventing financial crime. On Nationwide this morning, every first and third Friday at 8:20 a.m. Brought to you by the Financial Investigations Division.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Good evening, and welcome to Public Opinion. I'm Roby Ann Williams. A special one to our friends on our YouTube platform. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, you know we like to hear from you, so we ask you to comment in the comment section on today's Public Opinion. It's all about the match. It's all about the match that took place last evening at the National Stadium. And following that, Steve McLaren has resigned as the head coach of Jamaica's senior men's national team. McLaren tendered his resignation in a letter to the Jamaica Football Federation, JFF. Now, McLaren read a copy of the resignation letter at the post-match media conference moments after drawing 0-0 against Curaçao without taking any questions.
It is the responsibility of the leader, myself, to step forward, take accountability and make decisions in the best interest of the team for them to go forward. After deep reflection and an honest assessment of where we are and where we need to go, I have decided to step down as the head coach of the Jamaican national team.
That is Steve McLaren, who resigned as the head coach of Jamaica's senior men's national team. The draw ended Jamaica's hopes of automatic qualification to the 2026 World Cup being staged in the United States, Mexico and Canada. Now, in his statement, McLaren expressed his disappointment at missing automatic qualification to the World Cup. He said even though he didn't immerse himself enough into the country, he wished the Reggae Boys the best as the team heads to the Interconfederations playoff set for March next year. All right, so in Public Opinion this evening, we're asking, should Steve McLaren have stayed for the Reggae Boys' upcoming qualification playoffs? What are your thoughts? Your reaction? Let's hear it. I'll start with the comments on our Facebook platform, where Clifton Ricardo Russell is saying, yes, it's an English tradition to resign after failure, only if such man of English descendant had those principles. Oh, what a difference in Jamaica land we would have. Okay. Audley Phillip is saying, true leaders take responsibility for the overall team's performance. I hold him in high regard for your decision to step down. I just wish that the same would apply to the coach of the West Indies cricket team. Okay. Went a step further there. Philip Jackson is saying he is closing the gate after the horses had already bolted. Unfortunately, smart. Owen Wallace, for his take, he's saying, unfortunately for us, he stayed too long. We should have parted ways after the Gold Cup debacle. Nothing happened since then to show growth and proper team management. Let me see. Damian Lowe on the sidelines last night was more inspirational than McLaren in his tenure. Gigi Worthy saying, no way, him should have get a ears as wow. On a Valentine before him left. Wow, okay, him just failed Jamaica and resigned just so and gone back to England because England don't qualify and him no Jamaican. Okay, so him no hurt. All right, Anthony Facey is saying, hello, no, he doesn't even qualify to coach a kindergarten team. Wow. Wow. Kemar is saying, for what purpose? For what purpose should he have stayed? The man is known to fail on the international stage. Check out England in 2006 and 2007. He failed to qualify for the 2008 Euros. We should also be calling for Ricketts and Co. to step down. The quality of the game locally has regressed, and truth be told, they have been poor on all fronts. That's according to Kemar Kemi Bless Morris. Kurt Powell is saying, no, sir. We'll lose billions in paying him with little or no results to show. Michael Henry, even if we had one, he would have to tender his resignation. That man is a PE coach. If you're just joining us, we're inside the court of public opinion, and let me tell you, the comments them are harsh. To the question, should Steve McLaren have stayed for the Reggae Boys' upcoming qualification playoffs? Let me see. Colette is saying, no, not at all. Even the imported players must go too. Peter asks, Infestia where? Which part Infestia? Virgo is saying, hell no. Texwaby also saying no. Nicola is saying yes. She's saying that it can't get any worse. Yeah? All right, let me see what's on our Instagram platform. Hey, it's Lady Cutchinson is saying that he failed to get automatic qualification. So it doesn't matter at this point. He has resigned and left. Going now over to our YouTubers. Should Steve McLaren have stayed for the Reggae Boys' upcoming qualification playoffs? Let us see. Jacqueline Thomas right away said we have no faith. Yeah, we have no faith. Who am I believes that the Reggae Boys needs a female coach. Wow. Interesting. Interesting, indeed. Jacqueline Thomas also say, boy, Jamaicans are something else. Can I tell you? Can I tell you the comments? We are indeed something else. By any chance, did anybody see the video circulating on social media with the rail sky view of the match on the fences? Okay, all right, let's go. Let me see. Michael is saying, I watched the first 30 minutes of the match, I know that the regular boys going to lose. One place all the time playing bungle ball. All right. Wow. Leroy says, stay away. Yeah? Stay away. Don Leung is saying JFF president must go too. McHugh is saying his record has been underwhelming with only 11 wins in 23 games. In his tenure, he failed the mission to qualify. According to Anthony Williams, he left in the 75th minute, and he's saying the coach was atrocious. Let me see. Right move to resign, says Donovan. Donovan saying it was the right move for him to resign, but he doesn't only blame the coach for every failure. Nitrogen, Jamaica don't have a team. All they do is throw players from all over to play. They have no coordination. Keisha Jones said, kiss me teeth. Kiss me teeth. All right, let's see if I can get in a few more here. He and the whole JFF should go, says Ian. Let me see. McLaren is an honorable man, Brick Road says, or politicians should have resigned in their DNA. Wow. Okay. Double Lou is saying, or 0077, I should say, is saying, hell no, he should have been fired after our Gold Cup exit and not allow him to mess up our World Cup qualifications. Anthony Williams again saying Mr. McLean should have left long time ago. Okay. Dwight Bonner is saying Mr. McLaren should have gone before during the Reggae Boys failure in the Gold Cup. Okay. Reggae Boys next World Cup 2030, Godspeed. Reggae Boys McLaren wrote his speech long before the Reggae Boys lose. Jerry is saying Jamaica don't have football skill to World Cup level. Okay, too much indiscipline in their commitment. Woman says, Lord, a new job opens up for Robian. Wow, very optimistic there, who am I? Because, God no, I don't know. My granny only said the ball roll. I've been saying that from yesterday till now. I was able to watch, in part, some of the match. Let me see if I can get in a few more of the comments here in our public opinion. This evening, we're asking, should Steve McLaren had stayed for the Reggae Boys' upcoming qualification playoffs? DJ Perry says, I am livid. Women mean, should he have stayed? He should have gone already and never come back. Oh, cool. Merlene P says she felt a draw in her bones. Yeah? You felt a draw in your bones. Okay, President Ricketts should also resign, says Morgan. 007 says his style of football is outdated. All right. A lot of comments coming in. I've seen a lot of videos on social media, people chastising the players and all kind of Austin Crowford. But I mean, I understand. I do understand. And maybe because me is not a football person or a sports person. But I mean, I don't know. I'm patriotic. I cheer them on regardless. That's just my view. But don't take my view. The business report is up next. Thank you guys so much for your participation.
Public opinion was brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, industrial automation and control solutions.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is
6:36. Hello, good evening and welcome to Nationwide's Business Report. I'm Robian Williams. The UK inflation rate fell to 3.6% in the year to October, but food prices rose again following a dip in September. Prices are rising at their slowest pace for 4 months, helped by smaller rises in household energy costs and lower hotel costs. That's according to the Office for National Statistics, ONS. Economists had expected a slightly bigger fall from September's 3.8% to 3.5%. The latest inflation report comes just a week ahead of the government's much-anticipated budget. Young Australian teenagers on Instagram, Facebook, and Threads are being told their accounts will be shut down ahead of the country's social media ban for under-16s. Meta, which owns the three brands, said it had begun notifying users it believes to be between 13 and 15 years old by text, email, and in-app messages that their accounts would start being deactivated from December 4. Now, the ban in Australia comes into force on December 10, and it affects a number of platforms, which also include TikTok, YouTube, X, and Reddit. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said the world-leading ban was aimed at letting kids be kids. Meta and other firms opposed the measure, but said they would comply. And finally, in the currency markets at the close of trading today, it cost 161 Jamaican dollars and 21 cents to buy $1 US, 210 Jamaican dollars and 61 cents to buy $1 British pound, and 114 Jamaican dollars and 83 cents to buy the Canadian dollar. Well, that's the business report. I'm Robian Williams. Good evening.
After Hurricane Melissa, the road to recovery begins. If your family has been affected by the hurricane, the Ministry of Labor and Social Security is here for you.
Led by the ministry, teams are on the ground conducting household damage assessments and delivering assistance in communities where we are most needed. We are the People's Ministry, and we are leaving no one behind.
For further information, call our Client Care Center at 876-922-8013. Send us a WhatsApp message at 876-582-8972 or 876-849-8614 or email us at clientcare@mlss.gov.jm.
Run for rights, give for relief. Join Jamaicans for Justice at the Run for Rights 5K Run Walk, November 30, 6 a.m. sharp at the Police Officers Club, Kingston. Choose your cause: human rights, child rights, climate justice, or ending gender-based violence. Only $2,500 to enter. Medals, trophies, and more. Register now at my.raceresult.com/355144. Part proceeds in aid of hurricane relief. You can bring your essential items on race day. Every donation counts. Call 876-239-7583 for details.
Enough power tool, big to small. Jackama figure dig the wall. Upper total tools. Weed whacker figure trim the lawn. We have everything a job demand. Total tools. We rent them, sell them and fix them. Also give Total Tools a call. When I say home improvement, landscape construction, or Total Tools are your option. Home improvement, landscape construction, Total Tools are your option.
Total Tools, located at 102 Main Street, Ocho Rios, 34 Slibe Road, Kingston.
And lot C6 Jacksaw, Sentence Bay. Call us today.
This is a public service announcement from JPS. JPS is urging customers not to pay anyone to have their electricity service reconnected. Customers are reminded that unauthorized reconnections can be extremely dangerous and can result in serious injury, electrocution, or damage to property. This practice is unethical, illegal, and could delay restoration efforts. If anyone claiming to represent JPS requests payment for reconnection services, report it immediately to the nearest police station or JPS. JPS thanks all customers for their patience as teams continue working to restore power safely and as quickly as possible. That was a public service announcement from JPS.
Are you ready to turn your sales and marketing skills into high earnings? Nationwide 90FM is searching for business development executives to help us grow our business and build lasting client relationships. If you have experience across all stages of the sales cycle and possess strong communication, negotiation, and time management skills with a proven sales track record, this opportunity is perfect for you. Join our team and work with the top corporate brands, media agencies, and of course, our on-air personalities. Enjoy networking opportunities, professional growth, and competitive commissions. Ready to take the next step? Send your resume to hr@nationwidenewsnetwork.com today.
Taboo topics, bulletins after dark,
riveting discussions,
celebrity news and interviews,
topics that are shunned by society,
and everything else in between. Boyatings After Dark with Kareem Boyatings each and every Wednesday, 8 to 11 p.m. Boyatings After Dark. No topic is too taboo or hard to discuss. Come get your mind blown and your curiosity explored. Boyatings After Dark.
Good evening, listeners. Good evening, YouTubers. It's good to have you back with us. It's 6:43 and time for the nation's business. I'm Siobhan Campbell.
Tyrone Reed. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening again, Tyrone.
Indeed, indeed.
So, we still on the matter of Hurricane Melissa and the aftermath and the cost, listeners. The cost with that hurricane has gone up again. It is $8.8 billion US dollars. That's how much the World Bank estimates is the total cost of the physical damage to Jamaica caused by Hurricane Melissa. It's the equivalent of over 1.3 trillion Jamaican dollars. That's about as much as the country's annual budget, or the current annual budget. That's Country Director for the Caribbean countries at the World Bank, Lilia Barunchuk, who provided the update at a media briefing held at Jamaica House today.
The total cost of damage is estimated at 8.8 billion US dollars, which is 41% of the gross domestic product of Jamaica in 2024. As I said, this number assumes only physical damage. The economic damage will, of course, be also large. This will be estimated later when the dollar assessment is completed. Parishes of St. Elizabeth, St. James, Westmoreland experienced the worst damage, and these three parishes account for a total of 5.5 billion US dollars, or 63% of the country's total damage.
The voice there of Lily Barunchuk. Now, listeners, it's important to note that she says this 8.8 billion US dollars is the cost of the physical damage. The economic assessment is to be conducted. Hurricane Melissa, of course, as many of you already know, made landfall on the island on October 28th. St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, St. James, and Hanover are some of the parishes worst affected by the hurricane. Ms. Barunchuk says the damage assessment by the World Bank was separated into 4 categories. They are residential, non-residential, infrastructure, and agriculture. She notes that residential buildings, accounted for the highest loss. Meanwhile, Ms. Barunchuk says the damage caused by Hurricane Melissa to Jamaica is unprecedented and will require an enormous response.
The total estimated damages exceed any recent historical event. This means that the recovery will be an enormous and long-term task. It will require a well-coordinated strategic approach to ensure speed, efficiency, and transparency, and a whole of society effort from local institutions, the private sector, and from communities.
So that there, Lilia Barunchuk, she's the country director for the Caribbean countries at the World Bank. Well, we are hoping to be joined shortly by a senior infrastructure specialist in the Urban Disaster Risk Management and Land Unit in Latin America and the Caribbean at the World Bank. That's Artesa Saldivar Sali. We're hoping to get her shortly. But in the meantime, Tyrone, $8.8 billion, and that's without the assessment of the potential economic fallout. As Ms. Barunchuk said, that in terms of the cost to the country is unprecedented. Not during COVID, not during Gilbert, not even during the recessions that we had during 2008 and the COVID-19 resulting recession did we suffer such a unbelievable cost to the country. And this is not without weighing in the economic fallout as well, because due to the fall off in tourism, agriculture, the country is going to take a blow there as well. So it is going to be interesting times ahead to see how we weather this storm, and pardon the pun.
1.3 trillion Jamaican dollars, Siobhan. That's quite a bit of money. When I was listening to the newscast, and I think it was Ms. Barunchuk, she was saying the assessment that 8.8 million US was about, what, 46% of GDP? That's very, very significant. And it's for all of us as Jamaicans to just wrap our minds around the figures that we are staring down the barrel of. This is not something that can be sneezed at. This is a quite awesome task. The rebuilding, the recovery, the damage that has been left in the wake of Hurricane Melissa is is astronomical. It's big. Yeah, and I don't think we can say that enough. It will take all hands on deck to really get Jamaica back to where it needs to be. One of the things I'd love to hear, Siobhan, is based on the experts who do these assessments. What is the economic fallout? Usually a percentage of the physical damage. I mean, I'd love to hear that to see what we should be bracing ourselves for.
Well, as I understand it, when she spoke at the press conference, she says the economic fallout usually is greater than the physical fallout, because as long as the physical fallout exists, the economic opportunity is lost based on that, because you hope to multiply the physical infrastructure in terms of the impact it has on the economy should be greater than the infrastructure itself. So that fallout, unfortunately, is most likely going to be greater. But I understand we now have with us Ms. Artessa Saldivar Sali. She is the Senior Infrastructure Specialist in the Urban Disaster Risk Management and Land Unit at the Latin American Caribbean region of the World Bank. Good evening.
Good evening to you.
Good evening.
Good evening. Is that Saldivar Sali, Madam Saldivar Sali?
Yes, you pronounced it perfectly.
I'm happy to hear that. Thank you for joining us. So we had...
But you're welcome to call me Artessa.
Madam Artessa. Well, we had we heard there from Ms. Burunshuk in terms of the total cost being 8.8 billion US dollars. That is the total physical cost, not accounting for the economic cost. And we had a breakdown in terms of residential, non-residential, and two other areas. If you could just give us an understanding as to how the costs figure in each area. So that's residential, non-residential, infrastructure, and agriculture.
Sure. So generally speaking, when we try to understand the impact of a particular disaster on different asset classes like infrastructure, agriculture, residential, and non-residential, as you mentioned, it's important for us to first understand the hazard that affected these. So in this case, it would have been wind, rain intrusion, storm surge, flooding, etc. So we understand the strength of those. We try to understand where are the buildings, the infrastructure, the agriculture assets, and how do they relate to where the hazards hit. And then in order to understand how much damage cost there is, we also have to understand that, for example, for a given wind speed, how damaged will a particular type of building get? And then based on the historical information of the construction costs in Jamaica and the Caribbean, that's how we come up with the estimate of the replacement cost of a like-for-like road, residential building, school, and so forth.
So that is the stand-in replacement, as I understand it. That does not involve any potential needs for improvement or upgrades. This is just simply the cost as it would be to put, say, a like-for-like structure in place.
Absolutely.
So can you also give us an assessment in terms of, I know an economic assessment was not done in terms of the cost to the overall economy. I would imagine that would come at a later date. But do you have a potential breakdown as to how each individual category would impact the economic output of the country, and what would be the best avenue in terms of getting that back on track?
Excellent question. You're very right that recovery and reconstruction are not just about rebuilding physical assets. It really is about thinking forward how the different economic sectors can grow back and how people can return to jobs. So with that in mind, the interrelationships of
roads, electricity, water. We're already seeing that power lines can't be repaired without roads being passable, and vice versa. Can we rebuild stronger roads while still thinking about how we're going to rebuild the power lines? Similarly, the tourism sector, even if Jamaica's hotels recover quickly, how about the agricultural sector, the farmers that provide food to your tourism hubs? So that's a long way of saying these are things that are very interconnected. We do expect to see, though, that even though the physical damage in the agricultural sector was relatively lower, we will expect that the economic losses will be proportionately or disproportionately quite a bit higher. And indeed, the Inter-American Development Bank, UN-ECLAC, and the World Bank will be partnering together with many other agencies under the leadership of the Planning Institute of Jamaica to do a detailed assessment of the economic losses that will arise from the physical damages that are estimated by the grade.
Artisa, of course, we heard from Ms. Barunchuk that, and you're just speaking of it, the physical damage, the estimate has been delivered 8.8 billion US dollars. That's approximately 1.3 trillion Jamaican dollars. Could you say when the economic assessment may be completed? And if you could just put that into context for Jamaicans, when we say, okay, the cost of the physical damage is this and the economic damage is that, how do you explain the difference?
Right. So, for instance, if we think about damage to the agriculture sector, we might have, for example, crops that were destroyed. And so we can think about the economic losses as the loss of revenue to the farmers. If we think about the power lines that went down and the need to light up the West, think of all the businesses, small shop owners that aren't able to operate and make sales because they have no power. So those are the economic losses that need to be estimated in more detail. And that, I believe, the partners of the government of Jamaica are targeting to complete that sometime middle of December.
Sometime middle of December. And in terms of locating that, based on the history, this is not the first rodeo for the folks at the World Bank. Siobhan was just telling us that Ms. Barunchuk gave an idea. The economic impact is usually greater than the physical damage, the assessment of the physical damage.
Roughly speaking, we can say it's at least equal and can be 1 or 2 times more. But that's, of course, a very rough average from around the world.
I saw an assessment online. I don't know how accurate that was because it kind of took my breath away to even imagine. But I saw assessments being put forward to suggest it could be upwards of $19 billion once the economic cost has been put in place. Does that even sound roughly feasible? I'm
sorry, did you say 19?
19 billion US dollars.
Yes, 19.
Well, if we talk about totals, that's only an economic loss equal to the physical damage, right? So that's well within range of what we see in similar disasters around the world.
And as Tyrone says, this is not your first rodeo in terms of assessing, even if this is an unprecedented situation for Jamaica. What is the path forward in terms of recovery and putting the country back on track after such a thing? What would be your suggestion where you sit at the World Bank to say this should be your priority areas in terms of getting things back on focus?
Well, we heard the Prime Minister speak earlier today, and I think we can take away 3 key points. The first is that there has to be an immediate support to the people, the immediate relief, getting tarps over people's heads, shelter kits, food, trying to restore health centers so that people can visit their doctors, their nurses. This is going to be a phased recovery. And I have to say that it is always a long road. So after the immediate response and relief, we hear the Prime Minister saying that institutionally, the government has to understand what are its existing and very strong institutions. They're stood up because thankfully Kingston was spared the worst of the storm. So government of Jamaica is well prepared. However, as you mentioned, this is the biggest disaster that the country has ever seen. So this requires a coordinated effort. It requires management, strategic planning, and it will require prioritization. And so the Prime Minister laid it out very quickly that the institutions have to reimagine themselves to deliver speedy, effective, and strategic reconstruction in the sectors that matter to Jamaica. And if we listen to the Prime Minister, it really is about helping people to get back to work, helping people to help themselves, and standing up the economic hubs of the country so that instead of this being a decline in Jamaica's trajectory, this can be an opportunity for growth, as painful as this disaster has been.
It's well established, Artessa, that this is a long road to recovery. In doing the assessment, and you did say it's to replace whatever has been lost of equal value, was there an estimate on how long it might take for the country to recover, how long this long road might be?
Well, I'll use a phrase I learned in Australia, which is how long is a piece of string? But the Prime Minister said it best. I think there's going to be a balancing act between speed and resources. You can go faster, but that will take more personnel, technical support, and yes, financing. Or we can see this as a longer road, but that also has its trade-offs. I would say that the post-disaster reconstruction programs I've been able to work on, it really is a multi-year effort.
Multi-year, and that's best as you can put it for our listeners and viewers. Is there any assessment that includes naming a number of years in terms of replacing what has been damaged, or the assessment did not include that specifically?
Disasters are so different. The resources that governments put into reconstruction efforts are so different. And our cultures and our societies are so different. So I think it's really hard to put an average number on that, but it is a long road.
Then just finally from me, Artessa, while we understand there is a need to rapidly return the country to a sense of normality, certainly during this time there's an opportunity to, as the Prime Minister said, build better. So what would be your recommendation in terms of the careful balancing where we ensure that we can return people to their jobs, return them to shelter, but also inculcating the necessary climate resilient aspects in order to avoid a potential fallout of a similar magnitude going forward?
It's an excellent question. Look, I think that there are three questions to answer. There's a question of where we build, there's a question of how we build, and there's a question of how much risk the Jamaican people are willing to accept moving forward. Of course, the less risk you're willing to accept, the more that will cost and the more time and effort it will take. But once again, Jamaica is leading in the Caribbean and in the world on this. Your Jamaica Bureau of Standards has been updating your building design codes and standards over a number of years. And frankly, every disaster provides an opportunity to learn about how to strengthen our houses, our infrastructure, and so forth. So I would say that as the government leads the strategic, but also the spatial planning of the recovery, one lens with which to prioritize different interventions really will have to be based on measures to reduce risk, measures to build more strongly, but also measures to help communities be more prepared, learn how to rebuild their roofs and houses to a stronger level. It takes the whole of society, it takes the private sector, and indeed it takes the government. So it's a real pleasure to be able to listen to the Prime Minister lay out the government strategies and the phases and the recognition of the long road ahead. But I would certainly say partners like the World Bank stand with the government of Jamaica and stand with the people of Jamaica, no matter how long that road will be.
Artist, you've mentioned the Prime Minister and how he has communicated the current state of affairs and what's required a number of times. How impressed are you by the government of Jamaica's handling of the recovery relief efforts, just the response to the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa?
Well, I'll tell you something, and I'm really happy you asked me this question. I've worked in the biggest countries in the world. I worked in the smallest countries in the world. I worked in post-disaster reconstruction in Indonesia, China, the Philippines, Turkey. Guess what? It is world leading that your National Works Agency has framework contracts with all their contractors so that 6 days after landfall, you have 100 contractors all over Jamaica clearing roads. They're already there, they're stood up. These are contracting arrangements that are very rare, even in what we would think of as, sophisticated places. This is visionary. Another thing to point out is the readiness and the forward thinking of the government in putting together all of the financial instruments that provided Jamaica with immediate liquidity to be able to conduct relief, response, and early recovery immediately. And so I think with these two examples and many, many others, I have to say, I have not seen anything like this. And as you say, this is not my first rodeo.
And to be clear, when you're saying you've not seen anything like this, this is how impressive the government's response to the aftermath of Melissa is. That's
absolutely. Absolutely.
Finally, for me, can I squeeze one last one in, Siobhan?
Go ahead, Tyrone.
Just one last one. No, we there's been much talk, artists, about climate change, more frequent storms, fiercer storms, and particularly the folks in the Caribbean are going to be affected by this. We're talking about climate resilient buildings. What's the likelihood that we can construct so many buildings that could withstand a Category 5 hurricane or stronger? What's the likelihood of that?
Well, I'll repeat what I heard my engineer colleagues reminding me just today. Category 5 doesn't have a top, right? So unfortunately, you know, whether you are the biggest country in the world or a beautiful island country like Jamaica, a Category 5 is really a force of nature that we can't build our way out of. Even if you had infinite money, you can't build your way out of these forces of nature, which is why it's so important to also build the preparedness and resilience of communities, of individual persons, and the ability to recover just as Jamaica is doing now. With climate change, we're going to see storms intensifying more than we've seen before. We're going to see them be more unpredictable. We might see them taking tracks that we didn't take before. So in certain places, you know, I'll give you an example from the world of earthquakes. There's a province in my home country that never used to get earthquakes and never used to get tropical cyclones, as we call them. But all of a sudden, because the earth is changing, the ground is changing, this province suddenly got earthquakes. Because our weather systems and our climate is changing, it's suddenly getting tropical cyclones. So I think we really have to understand these changes. We have to build stronger, and we have to the best of our understanding, implement smarter, more resilient standards. But at the end of the day, I think we have to recognize that preparedness and an acceptance that these events are going to become more frequent is simply something we must accept.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Artisa Saldivar Sali. By the way, which country are you from?
Philippines.
The Philippines. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
you know they call us the supermarket of disasters.
No, I did
so
not know that. I did not know that.
Yeah. So I recognize how difficult this is. You know, I've lived and grown up with it. So thank you for allowing us to support Jamaica in this time.
And thank you for the support, and everyone else at the World Bank. We appreciate it. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much. Good night.
Artisa Saldivar Sali, she's the Senior Infrastructure Specialist in the Urban Disaster Risk Management and Land Unit in the Latin America and Caribbean Division at the World Bank. Siobhan?
That's right. We thank the World Bank for their support and that sobering estimate. She said that it could, when the economic damage is factored in, it could actually reach in the 20s of billions of US dollars. So we brace for that. But listeners, we take a break and we come back with more from the National Housing Trust.
Jamaica's poverty rate has dropped from 16.7% to 8.2%. As the government's economic program begins to pay off, our country is heading towards sustained growth. We are building Jamaica. The time by the office of the Prime Minister is...
It's 7:13.
Are you ready to turn your sales and marketing skills into high earnings? Nationwide 90 FM is searching for business development executives to help us grow our business and build lasting client relationships. If you have experience across all stages of the sales cycle and possess strong communication, negotiation, and time management skills with a proven sales track record, this opportunity is perfect for you. Join our team and work with the top corporate brands, media agencies, and of course, our on-air personalities. Enjoy networking opportunities, professional growth, and competitive commissions. Ready to take the next step? Send your resume to hr@nationwidenewsnetwork.com today. This Friday, November 21 from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., the Nationwide team makes its first stop in Westmoreland on our Rebuilding Jamaica Post-Melissa Relief OB series. And we're broadcasting live from 2 locations, Maud McLeod High School in Darlaston and Marzuka Garage in Savannah Lamar. So we're calling all residents of Darlaston and surrounding communities, Cottage, Venture Hall, Betheltown, Caledonia, Leamington, and everyone in Savannah Lamar. Come out and join us. We'll be bringing care packages and more, while our partners, the National Health Fund, will offer free screenings. Come share your stories, talk with our hosts, and let Jamaica hear how you and your families are rebuilding after Hurricane Melissa. Nationwide 90 FM, helping to rebuild Jamaica one community at a time. This outreach is made possible by NHF, Kimlani Mart, Marzuka Garage, NSWMA, the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, LMH Publishing, and Phoenix Vision Center.
Welcome back, listeners and viewers. Still on the topic of Hurricane Melissa, but we know there are many Jamaicans who need assistance in terms of rebuilding, and for that we have with us the National Housing Trust, which has announced 3 special relief initiatives following the passage of Hurricane Melissa. This as it commits to supporting homeowners and contributors affected by the Category 5 hurricane. The initiatives are the Hurricane Relief Loan, the Disaster Relief Grant, and a moratorium for NHT mortgages. Well, for more on the initiatives, we're being joined by the NHT's Assistant General Manager of Corporate and Public Affairs, that's Dwayne Berbick. Good evening, Sir Berbick.
Good evening, Siobhan. How are you?
Good evening. It's good to hear from you, sir. So, can you just give us a breakdown as to what each of these initiatives are? That is the Hurricane Relief, the Disaster Relief Grant, and the moratorium provided to NHT mortgages.
All right, let me start with that last one, the moratorium. So, in the immediate passage of Hurricane Melissa, one of the considerations that the NHT gave is that individuals would be challenged in making their monthly mortgage payments. So we have moved effective November 1 for a period of 6 months to provide to our mortgagors in the 7 most affected parishes a moratorium on mortgage payments, which really means for the 6 months between November and April next year, they would not be required to make mortgage payments. And those 7 most affected parishes are Manchester, St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, and St. Anne. So once you're an NHT mortgage, and by that I mean you service your mortgage at an NHT branch office or using any of our online platforms, then you would automatically qualify for this moratorium. We are mindful, though, Siobhan, that there are people in other parishes may not have been as severely affected, but people live in one parish, work in another. Their incomes may be impacted, and just from the heavy rains and winds may have had some damage as well. We're also saying for those mortgagors in other parishes, they can submit an application, and we will review that on a case-by-case basis, but we'll be willing as well to go up to even a 6-month moratorium for those individuals as well.
So just a breakdown, as I understand it, the moratorium is not limited to mortgagors who reside in the heavily impacted areas. You can still make the appeal, so to speak, if you do not reside in that area.
Definitely. And just to say, Siobhan, on a regular basis, the NHT have special assistance programs that support our mortgagors. So whether there is the loss of a job, change in your circumstances, any at all, the NHT does make provisions to include moratoria and other facilities.
I'm not sure if you said this before, Sir Dwayne, but Tyrone Reed here, by the way. Do you have to apply for the moratorium? It's not automatically applied. You have to make an application for it?
In the 7 most affected parishes, it's automatic. So what the NHT has done, majority of our mortgages are on a salary deduction program. So we've sent communication to the employers advising them to cease making monthly mortgage payments and remitting those to the trust. So in the 7 most affected parishes, it's automatic. But others outside of that area, and I did list the parishes earlier, Manchester, St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, and St. Anne, outside of those 7 parishes, we will consider on a case-by-case basis.
So there is the moratorium that has been handled. Talk to us about the disaster relief grant now.
Okay, so the disaster relief grant, we are extending now the NHT's reach and support beyond our mortgages and individuals who service their mortgage at NHT. We're extending this now to all our contributors, where the NHT is making available up to $500,000 per household, or I should use the correct term, though my lawyers at NHT beat me tomorrow, per collateral. So up to $500,000 per collateral, per property that the NHT is making available for individuals to effect repairs. And as I did indicate, Tyrone, that we're looking at not just mortgages and NHT and private sector mortgages as well, but we're also extending this to contributors and also our pensioners, because we do realize that their ability to be able to take on a loan or perhaps to get assistance, their probably main source of assistance is also affected. So we're extending this grant of up to $500,000 to our pensioners as well, and as I said, contributors and mortgagers generally.
And just to be clear, because I know there's a lot of sometimes misinformation and disinformation floating out there, just to repeat to the listeners, this is a grant, meaning you're not required to fulfill loan terms.
No, you're not required to. It's free. We won't need to repay that amount. We're looking at it on an as-needed basis, Siobhan. So the NHT will require individuals as part of their applications to submit photographs to support what they've put on the forms as it relates to the level of damage sustained. And we're also asking our applicants to submit as well estimates as it relates to how much it will cost to repair. So it's up to $500,000. Some people may need to repair a door, a couple windows, may not be a roof. So based on the estimates and the costing provided, the NHT will make that amount available, up to $500,000. And yes, it's a grant. We won't be required to repay that.
And this is available.
But you have to apply.
But you have to apply, yes. And the application form and a small checklist of documents, of course, we have to verify and ensure that contributors' funds are really going to contributors, and individuals are able to verify not just ownership, but also the level of damage sustained. So we'll do those verification checks upon application and then facilitate the payout.
And a question I see on YouTube, and I suppose it's a good one, and it applies to both the grant as well as the moratorium. For those individuals who their deductions are not automatically taken from their salary in terms of making NHT contributions and paying their mortgage, is there a different method by which they need to apply for either the moratorium or for the grant?
No difference. Once the NHT is able to verify your status, then we're good to go. We're actually even taking it a step further, Siobhan, that we're also bearing in mind individuals who may have contributed to the NHT in the past and stopped. We're giving them an opportunity as well to regularize their contribution status with the NHT and therefore be able to benefit from the grants as well.
And another question from YouTube I think is important. Let us say that you are supporting someone who, while they are a contributor, they may be frail or ill or otherwise not in the not in a position where they can reach out to make the application themselves. Can you make the application on behalf of a family member or someone else?
Yes, you can make the application on behalf of a family member, especially in the case of our pensioners who perhaps may not be able to put in that application themselves. But even for individuals who may not satisfy that broad target group that we're putting the grant to, if for whatever reason they are not able to, they're not a contributor, they're not a pensioner, they're not a mortgager, they've never contributed to the NHT. Once there's someone in that household who contributes to the NHT, or even, Siobhan, immediate relative, and by that we mean brother, sister, spouse, son, daughter, we'll accept those applications as well, even if they're outside of the property that is impacted. Once we're, of course, able to verify and use the estimates for the damaged property, and of course, our project officers will do the verification and checks to ensure that the funds were actually used on that property. So we're trying to be as inclusive as possible to ensure that all the individuals who need the help get it.
All right. So you've explained to us the moratorium, Sir Berbick. You've also explained the disaster relief grant. Now, I'm looking at disaster relief, and I'm looking at hurricane relief, and I'm saying, well, this is a hurricane relief loan. So the disaster relief is a grant. Okay, the hurricane relief is a loan. Talk to us about the hurricane relief loan. I now see the distinction. Talk to us about the hurricane relief loan now.
All right. So the NHC is making available a loan amount of $3.5 million available to homeowners who are looking to make repairs to their property. And those are individuals who, whether they have a mortgage with the NHC, have a mortgage with another institution, or a joint mortgage with NHC and another institution, or once you're just a homeowner and you don't have a mortgage, the NHT is making this $3.5 million available at an interest rate of 2%, and the loan tenure we're considering is 20 years or up to age 70 for individuals who want to make repairs to their property, homeowners that is. And all right, let me stop there. Yes.
What if you require more than the 3.5 million? Because you lost everything. I mean, the entire property was destroyed. Would the NHT consider expanding the loan limit on a case-by-case basis?
Haven't had that discussion in-house just yet, but the NHC is a caring institution, and so we would, in this kind of case, Tyrone, consider, well, there's a 3.5 million loan, that's not enough. You know, you can also apply for the grant of 500,000 and bring it to 4 million. So we will look within the toolkit of options to see what is available, to see how best you can boost the individual's affordability. I should also point out that the NHT also has activated its comprehensive homeowners policy. So mortgagors of the NHT during this period are also able to put in claims against the insurance policy that the NHT has. Probably one of the few.
Mr. Berbick?
It sounds as if we've lost Dwayne there.
Oh, there.
Yes,
Looks like
sure,
we have lost
it does
Mr.
sound that way. Look, I'm liking what I'm hearing from the NHT Hurricane Relief Loan, which is different from the Disaster Relief Grant. Of course, Hurricane Relief Loan is 3.5 million, Sir Siobhan. The Disaster Relief Grant is 500,000. You don't have to pay that back. For the hurricane relief loan, you get up to 20 years to repay. And of course, NHT mortgages can benefit from this moratorium for NHT mortgages. So a suite of interventions there from the National Housing Trust. And if it is that you are an NHT contributor or a mortgager your house has been affected by the passage of Hurricane Melissa, you can benefit from a moratorium. Yes, he listed 7 parishes, Sir Siobhan, that automatically would benefit from the moratorium.
Yes, 7 parishes the most heavily impacted by Hurricane Melissa, but even those outside of those parishes can call the NHT or otherwise contact the NHT and make a case if they feel they do in fact need that assistance in terms of a moratorium. I understand we have Mr. Berbick back.
We have him back with us because I want to ask him a question about the quantum, given the scale and the scope of the damage that Melissa has left in her wake. Mr. Berbick, welcome back.
Yes, I'm back, Tyrone. Thanks.
Yeah, man. Sorry about that. We lost you. You were talking about the hurricane relief loan.
Yes.
And I'd asked if it is that you would be able on a case-by-case basis to consider approving a loan limit that is above the 3.5 million that it's on the table. And you're saying that's not something you've discussed internally. Not certain if you could just complete that thought for us.
Right. I was indicating we haven't had those discussions internally as yet. We use data to support our policy making, I like to think, at the NHT. So if we do find that there is that demand and the numbers indicate that the 3.5 million is not enough, I know we will be willing to at least look back at that and to see what additional support we can provide. But I was pointing out, though, that it's not just the loan that is there for support. An individual is able to use a combination of the relief initiatives. So they can add the grant as well. Getting the hurricane relief loan doesn't prevent you from applying for and receiving the grant if your need to bring back your property to its original state or as best as possible to that requires both.
And I'm happy you went there because that was another question I saw on YouTube that I wanted to highlight, that these proposals are not mutually exclusive. You could, in theory, as a mortgager contributor, benefit from all three.
Definitely. And actually a starting point, Siobhan, for the NHT mortgager, the one who services their mortgage at the NHT, is that they are able to cash in on their insurance claim. The monthly mortgage payment they make is a combination of not just principal and interest, but it also includes life insurance and peril insurance. So a hurricane is a peril, a disaster that has happened, and so the NHT has activated that comprehensive homeowners policy. So individuals are also able to submit their claims there and apply for what is the replacement value as per their insurance arrangements. But if that insurance claim is not enough, and you also want the relief loan, you also want the grant, and of course the moratorium is automatic, we'll throw all the policies your way to help you bring it back to some
interesting point. I want you to repeat that for me, Mr. Berwick, because there perhaps are some NHT contributors, mortgages who might not be aware of this. Components in the loan, you said there are some components in this loan that you are loan repayment. There is the insurance, and then you said something about insurance for the house and then a life insurance component as well?
That's correct. So typically a mortgage payment for most things in most institutions would be the principal and the interest. But at the NHT, we've factored in life insurance and peril insurance. So all our approximately 140,000 mortgages fall within the insurance arrangements that the NHT has for both life and peril, which are disasters, earthquake, hurricane, fire, theft. You can activate that policy to replace what you've lost.
Wonderful. Now, and on average, if you could help us with this, how much is an NHT contributor looking at in terms of being able to recoup? Is it a percentage of the value of the home?
98%. There's usually a 2% excess that the mortgager is able to come up with, but it's based on how much the valuation determined. Because the valuation is done, and on a per square foot basis, the insurance arrangement is calculated. And the valuation speaks not just to the square footage, but generally what the property is worth. And so we always advise individuals, Tyrone, that ensure that you have full coverage. So you bought the house and you took out the insurance arrangement initially. but you've added a bedroom, you've added a bathroom, you've added other components to the property, but you've not done a new valuation to update what your property is now its true value. You'll find in some instances that individuals at a time like this cash in their insurance claim, but it's not enough to replace everything because you weren't paying your insurance on the full valuation. And even there, that's where the NHT will extend the grant to top up any amount that you get from your claim, the loan as well, and would not preclude an individual who requires all of these benefits to be able to be in a better position from getting them.
As Tyrone said, it's very good how the NHT is really assisting so many Jamaicans at this time. It is showing itself to be a very caring organization. But my next question is in terms of processing time. When someone reaches out for one of these loans or even that insurance claim, what are they looking at in terms of getting that necessary assistance back as swiftly as possible?
Mm-hmm. It would be hard to pin me down to a time, Siobhan, because the ability to process is also based on how complete the application is. So I would want to stress that first and foremost to individuals who intend to apply. Fill out the forms properly, have the supporting information there. Those variables will assist us to process it sooner than later. What we've done, though, is beef up our teams in some regards. So for the peril insurance claims, we're putting more assessors on the ground to assist in terms of processing those quickly, and more project officers for individuals who are applying for loans and grants who are able to do the assessments in a more timely manner and confirm and verify and validate so that the payouts and the different loans can be...
But Sir Dwayne, all things being equal, I think is perhaps where Siobhan was going. If you submit all that is required, how soon will you get a response?
The response will be within a few days. Then we dispatch our officer to do the verification checks. It shouldn't take longer than probably about 2 to 3 weeks, assuming everything is good with the application.
Right. I see someone on our YouTube channel is asking, I know we have to let you go now, they're asking, what if there are some mortgages who are not interested in the moratorium? How does the NHT respond to that? I'm not sure why that would be the case, but let's say there are some people.
Well, the NHT will, if individuals prefer to continue making mortgage payments, the NHT will process those as indicated by the mortgagor. So we've written to the employers, as I indicate, but the employers have also been advised that if the employee, the mortgagor, prefers to continue making those salary deductions and remit those funds to the NHT will process them as they come.
Mm-hmm. And another question from our YouTube channel, what if you're not on a salary, meaning if you're self-employed, you still receive this moratorium, right, as well?
Yes, you still receive a moratorium even if you're self-employed.
Mm. All right, there you heard it. I had this question before I go. The quantum, a lot of people have been affected. We've never seen anything like this. The NHT, in terms of its resources, does it have sufficient resources to respond to, let's say, if all the people who are affected make a claim for the hurricane relief, the disaster relief, and the moratorium, because that's money coming in, can the NHT withstand that kind of, run is a bad word, on its resources, but you get where I'm going with this, so do it.
Yes, and I did indicate earlier in our conversation, Tyrone, evidence-based decision-making and policies. Mm-hmm. So that's how we've arrived at where we've arrived at. And I think Beryl last year gave us a good experience and test case. And so from a budgetary standpoint, I know we had made the provisions from last year that just in case, your previous guest was talking about the more frequent hurricanes and the more intense hurricanes. The NHT has done that assessment and is mindful as well and reserve funds on an annual basis now as part of our budget that would allow us to do this kind of response should it become necessary.
Just a follow-up question to that. Is the NHT, in terms of providing insurance coverage, is it itself reinsured?
I'm going to say yes. Yes.
So even in this case of a significant drawdown from the various contributors and mortgages in terms of the cost, you would be covered yourself by the insurance claims that you would be able to make to a third party, so to speak.
Exactly, yes. That would be correct. So there is a combination of the NHT's reinsurance, but then, of course, you have the NHT's own cash flow as well that would be considered. But, of course, the actuaries, the accountants, they would have run the numbers and would have been comfortable in putting forward what we put forward as a relief support package, being fully mindful of what the NHT can absorb.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. The voice there of Dwayne Berbick, the NHT's Assistant General Manager in charge of corporate and public affairs. Thank you, Sir Dwayne. Have a good one, man.
Thank you, Tyrone, and have a good evening. And have a good evening as well, Siobhan.
Have a good evening, Mr. Berbick. Very excellent news coming there from the National Housing Trust. I'm sure that will put a lot of mortgages and a lot of Jamaicans at ease, knowing that at the very least they can get a break from their mortgages, and at the worst, they can apply for a loan as well as a grant to get some support in rebuilding efforts, as well as their insurance if they are a mortgager of the NHT. So please, listeners, don't hesitate to reach out to the NHT. I've known them even outside of this very, very serious crisis, that as an organization, NHT is a very caring, very understanding institution that really looks out for
in government. Yes,
that really looks out for people when they have concerns and issues. So kudos to the NHT.
And it bears repeating, Siobhan, because somehow in my thinking, a lot of people might not know this. If you are an NHT mortgager, your home is insured. You can actually apply for insurance money. You heard there from Dwayne Berbick. He says up to 98%, Siobhan?
Yes, 98%.
Of the value of the properties. And I get it would have been when the house was valued when you were taking out the loan, right? You get up to 98% of that. And if you did improvements and you had it revalued and updated on the system, I gather that new valuation is what you will benefit from. So if you are an NHT mortgager, you're paying your mortgage with NHT, your loan is insured. Spread the word to everyone out there so they can make these claims, all right?
And an interesting anecdote in terms of, I did some research about this, in terms of Jamaica's home insurance market, NHT insurance coverages makes up 78%, nearly 80% of actual home insurance in people that's not a good statistic. I don't think so. We need more Jamaicans outside of NHT
not have a loan through NHT. Their homes are not insured.
Exactly. We really need to get those numbers up, because Hurricane Melissa should be the warning that in a situation like this, you really do want to have home insurance. I know the premiums can sometimes be daunting, but this is proof of the pudding, so to speak. Well, listeners, we take a break, come back with your calls. The numbers are 630-937-124 and 618-6730.
Super.
Do you have a consumer-related issue? Want to learn more about matters concerning you as a consumer? Well, keep it locked to Nationwide 90 FM for the Consumer Hour with me, Nora Gay Banton, weekdays from 9 to 10 a.m. For all your consumer-centric matters, stay tuned to the Consumer Hour on Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media.
Taboo topics. Boy Things After Dark.
Riveting discussion.
Celebrity news and interviews.
Topics that are shunned by society.
And everything else in between. Boyatings After Dark with Kareem Boyatings each and every Wednesday, 8 to 11 p.m. Boyatings After Dark. No topic is too taboo or hard to discuss. Come get your mind blown and your curiosity explored. Boyatings After Dark.
Ever wondered how to spot a scam before it drains your account? Or how Jamaica's top financial crime fighters track down the money? Join the Financial Investigations Division on Nationwide This Morning, every first and third Friday at 8:20 a.m. for FID in Action, an informative, engaging feature designed to keep you and your money safe. Learn practical tips to help you spot, prevent, and report financial crimes. Understand how the FID protects the financial system. That's FID in Action, protecting you, preventing financial crime. On Nationwide This Morning, every first and third Friday at 8:20 a.m. Brought to you by the Financial Investigations Division.
Welcome back, listeners and viewers. As I said, taking your calls. The numbers are 630-937-124 and 618-6730. I see two things here online. Swama is asking if you... Yes, let me explain my statistic there. When I say that the NHT mortgages make up 78% of the home insurance market, every NHT loan, it covers... at insurance, as the gentleman said, with peril and life insurance. But what I mean is the total home insurance market in the country, NHT mortgages make up the vast majority of that, meaning homeowners who do not have an NHT mortgage rarely seek out actual insurance coverage. And I said that's why it's a troubling statistic. I want more Jamaicans outside of the NHT mortgage program to apply for home insurance. It's very important, especially in a country that suffers from regular natural disasters. That is what I meant.
And a good way to kind of place into perspective what you're trying to highlight, Siobhan, is okay. Let's say the number is about 70+% of the houses insured in Jamaica are actually NHT homes or mortgages granted by the NHT, right? What percentage of homes fall under the NHT versus privately funded or built homes is a total number that I think would give us a better understanding of what Siobhan is actually trying to highlight.
About 30% of homes in the country are actually insured. So that should put that in perspective. That's a troubling statistic. But Bobby, you're on the line. Bobby, good evening.
Good evening, Mas Bobby.
Yeah, good evening, Siobhan. Good evening, my good friend Tyrone.
How you doing, my brother?
Well, I'm okay. You know, somebody said to me the other day when I was looking about some stuff to send to St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Trelawney and those places. The person said, look here, the case of Malta where you are planned buy that you and Tyrone drink, please, Tyrone say you must send it down, so. So I say, okay then, boss, I hear. Yeah, man, I hear.
Absolutely, man. You can send my case of Malta down to the West, man.
I will. I'll do a send stuff down there already. So I am in the process of putting some more cash together so I can send down some more stuff. Yes, but what I want to talk about is that I heard the interview between you and the lady from the World Bank.
Miss Artesa.
Right, yes. And I would just want to add something. You know, Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness is going to stay in that Prime Minister seat until him hunch. Because you know why I say that? Every disaster that takes place when he is in office, he steer the country in the right direction and rebuild the country. And I think he is the only prime minister that can do that. In the 90s, if you notice, if a disaster of this magnitude had take place in the 90s, that government would have gone to our International Monetary Fund long time. And Prime Minister Andrew Holness don't do that. He's not going to the IMF. Right? And the entire world is lauding the Prime Minister and how he is angling the relief process and the rebuilding of those people's property down there in the West and elsewhere where Melissa had it. So I think this man, trust me, is the right man for Jamaica.
I hear you, but just a correction. I think inevitably we will go to the IMF. The only differentiation here is that what we're seeking is not balance of a payment support. What we're seeking is help with reconstruction and rebuilding, and that is a very important point. This would be, I think, the first time in the country's history that what we're seeking from the IMF is not balance of payment support. That is important.
Yeah, we will definitely. The Prime Minister did say at the media conference today that we will need to borrow. Yeah, the debt stock will increase. Look, we're staring down the barrel of a catastrophe, the size and scope that we've never seen anything like this before. But it really helps us that we are in a good position macroeconomically. Yeah, that really helps us. But it is still a difficult position to be in.
So true. But still he must get all the credit and all the thumbs up. The very best Prime Minister who governed this economy in times of a disaster and steer the ship properly. Okay then, and thank you very much. Yes, sir.
All right, Bobby.
All right, have a good one. Okay, Siobhan, do we have another call online?
Carl is on the line, but make your point.
Go ahead. I was going to say, though, what the World Bank rep just said about the government's handling, it's not insignificant, you know. It is absolutely not insignificant. And I must say that as a Jamaican, I really feel proud to hear someone from the outside saying that about how our government has been handling the response to Hurricane Melissa. It really, really is impressive what we just heard there from the World Bank rep. Carl, you with us?
Yes, Carl, go ahead.
Siobhan, if election is over and somebody is giving out aid, both come from ordinary people and from the government also. Should you be using a political card to be issuing it out?
I think at this point in time, I would want to avoid any overt political signage, so to speak. But I mean, if that's what they want to use in terms of providing aid, let them use it, Nakal. The only concern I have is that the Jamaican people get the support to have. I don't care if you come in an orange bag or green tarpaulin.
It's not the bug.
No, I'm just saying I don't care if it come in a green tarpaulin, orange bag or anything, as long as the people get the support. My only concern is that the people get the support at this point.
Right, and that is happening in St. Elizabeth at the moment.
Well, that is on them to make that decision, Carl. As I said, if they're supporting Jamaicans at this time, as long as they're not supporting Jamaicans on the basis of political affiliation, if they want to signal that it is green, send the money, or orange, send the money, I don't care. I genuinely don't care.
All right, I'm going to leave you with that one. Mr. Buju Banton take down his post.
He needs to do more than that.
Between Friday night and Saturday. And Mr. Buju Banton feel to say it finish.
No. He needs to give an accounting of that situation.
You see, Mr. Buju Banton.
You can't leave something like that. That is damaging to the country's reputation, what he did.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
So he needs to give an accounting of it. It's not a matter of just, I'm just going to take down the post. No.
Yes. Mr. Buju Banton come on a crash. And who did who influence him to do such foolishness. Buju Banton never knows he'd have flashback in his face like that. And he just take it down and fit to say that is the end of it. You see, and I asked you, I think it was Friday night, I asked Ricardo, one of them, that he was saying about if the head is dirty and the head is corrupt. I want to remind Buju Banton that who he was talking also didn't wear no handcuff in our next person country. But Buju Banton wear a handcuff in our next person country. And that's what Buju Banton must take a good look at. He is a very good musician.
So you interpreted the head of the stream comment as a veiled swipe at the government. See, that's how you interpret it?
No, at the Prime Minister of Jamaica.
Okay, the Prime Minister.
The Prime Minister.
He didn't name the Prime Minister, but it is not entirely unreasonable on your part to assume that.
He did not use the Prime Minister. He said if the head of the stream is corrupt, the Prime Minister of Jamaica is the head of the stream.
No, what I'm saying to you, I'm not challenging you, Mascar. I'm saying it's not entirely unreasonable on your part to deduce that from the statement, even though he did not name the Prime Minister by name. It's a reasonable deduction on your part, is what I'm saying.
Thank you very much. And what I'm trying to say, I doesn't eat meat, so there is no way I could come home to my house one evening and my wife introduce me to taste meat in our pot. And Buju Banton, if you don't know about something, what the hell you are tasting for?
Carl, he has served his time, and let's just move on. You can't keep punishing someone for something that they've served the time for. So I know you're upset about what he has said and what he has done, but let's not try to resurrect what somebody has. He has paid his debt to society. Let's move on.
Him doesn't let it go. Him doesn't let it go. He wants to still sell it around the world that our Prime Minister is corrupt. He did not interfere with no taxpayer dollar in Jamaica. He did not interfere with no taxpayer dollar in Jamaica.
Who did not interfere? Sorry, I'm not sure I'm understanding what you're saying.
Me say the way them did want to sell it, Tyrone, like the Prime Minister interfere with taxpayer money in Jamaica.
No reasonable, rational person would have thought that the Prime Minister or any other minister would be the people at the port taking out people's stuff. The only thing on which I'm saying to you, it's not an illogical deduction on your part, is that he went on to say that if he doesn't expect anything else, because if the head of the stream is corrupt, that means the people who are downstream are going to be corrupt. He drew that parallel, but clearly I don't think the suggestion would have been that the government individuals were the people who were taking out whatever it is that he's accusing that was taken out of what was sent, right?
Okay,
but it's an unfortunate thing. But my point to you, though, Carl, is when people have paid their debt to society, even when they've gone and done something that you don't agree with, the response shouldn't be to bring up back what people have done. He's already paid his debt to society. Why are you bringing that back?
Tyrone, them continue to bring up the past, what they campaign on before a general election into a natural disaster.
Sir Carl, all I say is I think you're bigger than that. So we can't,
Tyrone,
disagree with him without bringing up.
Tyrone, I'm going to ask you something.
He has paid his debt to society. Let's move on.
All right, Tyrone, do you know is one government in Jamaica, not true?
Well, that's how a democracy works. There's one administration in place.
All right. Well, how you look at this now, Tyrone? The opposition form his own aid victim for people to send in things to the PMP. How that look to you?
I saw it and I wondered about it. I know there are people who disagree with it. As the opposition forms part of the government, it would make sense that they just direct people to the official government website. that would make sense, right? It would make sense that we do that, but yeah. There are those who don't have a problem with it, and others do. Yeah, and my thinking is, I'm saying perhaps it's best the opposition that forms part of the government, the system of government, that they point people to the official government website. That's what
That's exactly, Tyrone. Well, Tyrone, I just want to, over the world, anybody is listening, please be very careful of this opposition. I'm going to remind Jamaica people and around the world. Remember, 2016, Mr. Norman Hahn have to left the PMP because of donation come to the treasury of the PMP.
Hold on, man. Look here, Carl. Let's stop Carl, because Carl, you like to go in the past and dig up things that has been well ventilated, man, and then you want to try and get, next thing you say something out of turn and get nationwide.
No, I mean, I said nothing out of no turn time.
No, man, let's leave that alone.
We're out of time, Carl. We're out of time anyway. We're out of time. It's 7:58, and I'm getting the wrap-up signal either way. But well, Jamaica continues and life continues and the politics continues. Let me just leave it at that. I'd have loved to see it left in the past as well, but that is the country we live in. But thanks to our YouTubers and all those listening in Radio Line, thank you for joining us this evening. Thanks to our technical operator, the man behind the controls this evening, Damian Cunningham, our super producer, Dana Davey, and all those in the production department led by the very capable Cara Powell. And special condolences this evening to Ricardo Brooks. He has suffered a terrible loss. My heart goes out to him, and I hope all is well with him. So my condolences to him and his family. So thanks to you all this evening. I'm Siobhan Campbell.
I'm Tyrone Reid. Have a good evening.
This Friday, November 20.